$74 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $634. Antiwar.com reports there were reports that Egypt's military junta had brokered a ceasefire between Israel and the Gaza Strip after dozens of rockets were fired on both sides. What actually happened is somewhat more ambiguous right now, as Israel's military has denied that any agreement was reached, though officials from the defense ministry say they expect the fighting to die down soon. Reports suggest that there is a split in Israel's cabinet about the deal, with Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman hoping to use the rocket fire as a pretext for a new occupation of the Strip, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly afraid that a new war would screw up planned celebrations of the Purim holiday. A handful of rockets were fired at Israel, landing harmlessly in fields as most of the others have, though Islamic Jihad and Hamas have both denied responsibility and are said to be trying to figure out which of Gaza's many minor factions did it. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Amagi Metals. When you purchase gold or silver from Amagi Metals using my affiliate link, gold.fppradio.com, you help fund FPP Radio News. Amagi Metals offers beautiful gold and silver rounds and ingots at great prices. Amagi Metals also accepts Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dogecoin, allowing you to convert your cryptocurrencies into precious metals. Shop Amagi Metals online at gold.fppradio.com. That's gold.fppradio.com. UPI reports an Alabama judge has ruled that two women who were legally married in Iowa cannot get divorced in Alabama because the state does not recognize their marriage. Patrick Hill, the lawyer representing Michelle Richmond and Kirsten Elise Richmond, said both women are legal residents of Alabama and that their families live there. He said they were able to get married in Iowa during a weekend trip in 2012, but would have to live in Iowa for at least 1 year to get a divorce there. Judge Karen Hall, the presiding judge in Madison County, issued a brief order saying that Alabama law does not provide any means for the couple to divorce. The lawyer for the women said, "I have a lot of faith in the court system, I have a lot of faith in Judge Hall, and I believe she ruled the only way she is able to given the current state of the law in Alabama. It is my intention to pursue this as far as I can, to see to it that the law that prevents my clients from getting a divorce is reversed, and the divorce case is given back to Judge Hall." FPP Radio News is brought to you by Coinbase. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Opening a wallet is quick and easy, and for merchants, there are no transaction fees on the first $1 million worth of transactions. I trust Coinbase. You should too. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. That's coinbase.fppradio.com. The New York Times reports Ukraine's interim prime minister, seeking to rally support for a Security Council resolution criticizing the supposed Russian takeover of Crimea, took pains yesterday to say that his country wanted a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk told the UN Security Council in English, "The Ukrainian government is absolutely open. We want to have talks. We don't want any type of military aggression." Then, for dramatic effect, he addressed Moscow's envoy in Russian. "We are looking for an answer to the question whether the Russians want war." The Russian ambassador Vitaly Turkin sat straight back, hands on the table, and listened. When it was his turn, he replied crisply, "Russia does not want war, nor do Russians. I suspect Ukrainians don't want war either." The resolution is not likely to explicitly condemn Russia's military advance in the Crimean Peninsula. The American ambassador, Samantha Power, told reporters it is expected to express support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine and dismiss the referendum on Sunday as illegitimate. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The Supreme Court's sidekick, Kid Justice, is killed by mad genius Dr. Contempto. Thousands of elderly Japanese Americans are rounded up for an internment camp's 70th reunion, and a report confirms the habitat of Bengal tigers is now down to a studio apartment in Jaipur, India. As it was once prophesied in the weekly news recap videos of old, here now it emerges before your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Local man Matthew Hunker announced this week that he has such strong brand loyalty to Mazda that he's willing to kill for the Japanese car brand. Hunker told reporters that if he hears anyone say anything negative about Mazda's cutting-edge features, or if anyone places any other car brand above the award-winning line of 2013 Mazdas, he will, quote, personally beat them to death.
You think I wouldn't slit your goddamn throat in the name of Mazda? You think I'm f***ing around? Go ahead, say something bad about the top-rated Mazda 6, or the award-winning CX-5. See what f***ing happens. I f***ing dare you. You think I'm afraid to go to jail?
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want right here, toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That is the Pro XPN toll-free line. And with you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Daryl.
Don't forget, you can join us online. Just drop on by freetalklive.com. Get interactive with the features that you'll find there on the site. You can submit content to the front page of the website. In fact, coming up, the top story from freetalklive.com, as submitted by BS Runner. The open letter to New Jersey residents from the CEO, chairman, and product architect of Tesla Motors in response to New Jersey banning Tesla Motors from doing direct-to-consumer sales in their state. We'll see what the CEO has to say about that.
And it's not just Tesla that is being banned.
Mm-hmm.
It is all car dealers car manufacturers. Tesla is just the only major manufacturer that is currently doing direct-to-consumer sales.
Right, and we'll get into the details on what he has to say and what that whole situation's all about. But first, there's another letter that we teased last week on the show, and you felt was so important we had to get it out there. It's about banning the U.S. dollar.
Yes,
and it's from some U.S. representative,
Congressman Jared Polis from I forget Colorado. He has written a letter. And I'm actually trying to pull up the letter. I've got the article that speaks about the letter, but I want to pull up the actual letter.
Okay, I apologize.
Because the letter is hilarious.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought you had that pulled up. So what it was in response to, as I understand it, was kind of the call to ban Bitcoin.
Well, there was a senator from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, who wrote a letter to the Treasury saying we need to ban Bitcoin and here's why. And so Congressman Polis sort of took that letter and tweaked it a little bit to make it apply to U.S. dollars.
So I didn't read the letter from the original senator or whatever. I presume it was to the effect of, Bitcoins are being used for black market activity. Bitcoins, that seems like the big critique of Bitcoins. Bitcoins are volatile. Bitcoins, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Did you read the original?
I did not read the original letter, but based on the wording of this letter and knowing that it's in response to the other,
you can infer.
I can sort of guess what was in the original letter.
Okay. Have you pulled it up?
I have this pulled up.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
Dated March 5th, 2014. Dear Secretary Liu, Chairwoman Yellen, Comptroller Curry, Acting Chairman Wetjen, Chairman Greenberg, and Chairwoman White, I write today to express my concerns about the United States dollar bills. The exchange of dollar bills, including high-denomination bills, is currently unregulated and has allowed users to participate in illicit activity while also being highly subject to forgery, theft, and loss. For the reasons outlined below...
Well, we know that the Bitcoin is not subject to forgery.
Right.
You really can't forge a Bitcoin. But anyway, going on. He's talking
I
about
urge
dollars.
regulators to take immediate and appropriate action to limit the use of dollar bills. By way of background, a physical dollar bill is a printed version of a dollar note issued by the Federal Reserve and backed by the ephemeral full faith and credit of the United States. Dollar bills have gained notoriety in relation to illicit transactions. Suitcases full of dollar bills used for illegal transactions were recently featured in the popular movies American Hustle and Dallas Buyers Club, as well as the gangster classic Scarface, among others.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar bills are present in nearly all major drug busts in the United States and many abroad. According to the United States Department of Justice study, crime in the United States, more than $1 billion in cash was stolen in 2012, of which less than 3% was ever recovered. The United States dollar was present by the truckload in Saddam Hussein's compound, by the carload when Noriega was arrested for drug trafficking, and by the suitcase full in the Watergate. Unlike digital currencies, which are carbon neutral, allowing us to breathe cleaner air, each dollar bill is manufactured from virgin materials like cotton and linen, which go through extensive treatment and processing. Last year, the Federal Reserve had to destroy $3 billion worth of $100 bills after a printing error.
Oh, wow.
Certainly, this cannot be the greenest currency. Printed pieces of paper can fit in a person's pocket and can be given to another person without any government oversight. Dollar bills are not only a store of value, but also a method for transferring that value. This also means that dollar bills allow for anonymous and irreversible transactions.
Mm-hmm.
The very features of dollar bills, such
which is
as
also true about Bitcoin, by the way. You can transfer Bitcoin anonymously. There are ways to do that. By default, it's not. And then also they're irreversible unless the person you send them to decides to give you a refund.
Right.
Same with dollars.
The very features of dollar bills, such as anonymous transactions, have created ubiquitous uses from drug purchases to hitmen to prostitutes.
Oh, yeah.
As dollar bills are attractive to criminals who are able to disguise their actions from law enforcement. Due to the dollar bill's anonymity, the dollar market has been extremely susceptible to forgers, tax fraud, criminal cartels, and armed robbers stealing millions of dollars from their legitimate owners. Anonymity, combined with the dollar bill's ability to finalize transactions quickly, makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to reverse fraudulent transactions. Many of our foreign counterparts already understand the wide range of problems that physical currencies can have. Many physical currencies have enormous price fluctuations and even experience deflation. 20 years ago, Brazil had an inflation rate of 6,281%.
Whoa.
In 4 years, from 2001 to 2005, the Turkish lira went from 1,650,000 to $1 to 1.29 per dollar. In 2009, Zimbabwe discontinued its dollar. Before it was eliminated, the Zimbabwe dollar was the least valuable currency in the world, and their central bank even issued a $100 trillion banknote. A person would starve on $1 billion Zimbabwe dollars, and it took an entire wheelbarrow full of $100 billion bills in notes to purchase a loaf of bread.
It's ridiculous.
The
But true.
clear use of dollar bills for transacting is the clear use of dollar bills in transacting in illegal goods, anonymous transactions, tax fraud and services, or speculative gambling make me wary of their use. Before the United States gets too far behind the curve on this important topic, I urge the regulators to work together, act quickly, and prohibit this dangerous currency from harming hardworking Americans. Sincerely, Jared Polis, Member of Congress.
Wow. So, well, it's nice to know that there's somebody in Congress who actually seems to care about digital currency. And, he doesn't name Bitcoin by name in there, but he does reference digital currencies.
Yes. And it should be noted, and that's the important thing about the article that I have from TechCrunch, he was being tongue-in-cheek.
Very much so.
And
it was firmly
there's
planted.
a comment from his spokesman that says, this is just a satirical version of Senator Manchin's letter meant to draw attention to the fact that Bitcoins are not any more susceptible to the problems that the senator points out than dollars. Congressman Polis is not actually calling for a ban on physical currency, but hopes this helps move the debate forward so we can come up with ways to improve Bitcoin, not ban them.
Toll-free number. Well, I don't want the government to touch Bitcoin. Not that they could anyway. It's out of their purview. 855-450-FREE. Bitcoin, decentralized currency that is taking the world by storm. We'll come back with more Free Talk Live. In fact, I got something about Bitcoin Jesus coming up.
Everybody wants to know, what can you buy with Bitcoins? Isn't there like a Bitcoin general store or something? Well, yes, now there is, and it's at bitcoingeneralstore.com. BitBrew and the Bees Brothers have teamed up to create a place where U.S. customers in the lower 48 can shop for, well, anything with free shipping. What can you find at bitcoingeneralstore.com? Bitcoin apparel, stickers, gifts, precious metals, physical Bitcoins, coffee and honey, of course, and electronics and computer accessories. The folks at Bitcoin General Store are true Bitcoin believers who don't even use third-party payment processors. They get their inventory direct with Bitcoin and pass on the savings to you. Shop at bitcoingeneralstore.com with confidence that you are supporting a real Bitcoin economy. You gotta see what they have to offer. Visit bitcoingeneralstore.com today. That's bitcoingeneralstore.com.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Meowbit is free software from the Freedom Fiends that allows you to effortlessly view .bit websites. Meowbit works on all browsers. .bit is a new type of web address that's not controlled by any government or corporation. And we'll show you how to register a .bit domain today using a few cents worth of Namecoin. If anyone ever shuts down your .com website, users will still be able to get to your site using your .bit address in our free software, Meowbit. Go to meowbit.com. That's meowbit.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, take control, toll free here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got a website. You can go there and enjoy all the features. You can actually create the content that which you see on the front page was put there by listeners just like you. And you can go and edit that content by voting up what you like, down what you don't. You can also submit content straight to the front page of the site by going to, again, freetalklive.com. You will need a Reddit account and a freetalklive.com account. Once you have those two things, you can easily link them together on our website, and then it'll be very easy for you to submit content and vote as your heart desires. And then we'll see that every night before the show and determine whether or not we should talk about it. In fact, I pulled the very top story from the website tonight to discuss. It's a letter by the head of Tesla Motors to the people of New Jersey. We'll share that with you here in a few moments. But we are talking about Bitcoin, and I want to let you know how you can get started with Bitcoin because it's a really important concept. This is probably the most important thing that has happened since the internet. So, like, Bitcoin wouldn't have happened without the internet. So the internet was a pretty big thing that happened within the last 20 or 30 years. But Bitcoin is probably the next most important thing because it has taken money and it has put the power of money into the hands of the people instead of the bankers and the government agents. It is decentralized, meaning that there's no central authority, there's no government or corporation that's in charge of Bitcoin, that is in control of Bitcoin, that can stop Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized, meaning that there are nodes of this network all over the place. I've got one on my computer. You could have one on yours, and the more nodes there are, the more difficult it is to take down. And hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people now are using Bitcoin around the world. It is the most effective and the best financial transaction network out there. You can send money and receive it for pennies worldwide. It's just incredible. If you haven't done the research, you can go to weusecoins.com to learn more about Bitcoin, what it is. But if you're ready to get started, to jump into the world of Bitcoin, the first thing you need to do is have a Bitcoin wallet. And you can accomplish that by going to blockchain.info. They've got encryption in your browser, which means that they're not storing your wallet information in any way that can be hacked. Blockchain cannot access your wallet. You are the one that has access to it, and it's encrypted and decrypted right there in your browser to keep you safe from FBI and NSA prying. Blockchain.info's wallet also has tools that allow you to send your Bitcoins anonymously, and you can join millions of other Bitcoin users today. Get your free Bitcoin wallet at blockchain.info. That's blockchain.info. Now, somebody who is also a fan of blockchain.info is also known as Bitcoin Jesus, a.k.a. Roger Ver.
Some people think that he is Satoshi Nakamoto and the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Well, if that's true, he's got a pretty good cover story. His cover story, which actually I don't think is mentioned in this this article. This is a Salon.com piece about him, Roger Ver. He is a listener of Free Talk Live, and he ostensibly found Bitcoin through listening to Free Talk Live.
Because of Mandrick.
Because of Mandrick? I'm not sure I remember that part of the story. Tell me more.
Mandrick, the guy that used to make baklava.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Was an advertiser of yours, and he accepted Bitcoin. And the story, as I heard it from Mandrick, is that Roger told Mandrick, I learned about Bitcoin because of you.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's cool, because I know that he had heard about it on Free Talk Live. I didn't know if he'd heard the advertisements, or not the advertisements, but us discussing Bitcoin and also Mandrick taking Bitcoin. I don't know how that exactly went down or where he heard it first, but he did hear about it first on Free Talk Live. What the exact subject of discussion was, I don't know. But again, if you say that he's Satoshi Nakamoto, Daryl, then that would mean that he's lying about hearing about Bitcoin.
Some people think he is.
You're one of those people, aren't you?
I am.
Okay, then.
But that's more a joke thing, just because of how involved he is.
I tend to believe Roger. I think that he really did hear about Free Talk or hear about Bitcoin on Free Talk Live. But it's a good cover story.
I've also jokingly said that the guy that helped install a security camera was Satoshi Nakamoto, just because he's a computer geek.
Salon.com with a story about Roger Ver. I have sworn, writes the author here, whose name is Eric Bovim, to not write the name of the island where Roger Ver is currently residing, the reason being that he fears for his life. It is the second time we've spoken in 4 weeks, and this time his anxiety is palpable. It leaps through the phone. Ver talks about his future the way a revolutionary might, uncertain and littered with likely chances for wrongful imprisonment or assassination. He won't start a family, he tells me, because a child's father should be there, and he fears that he won't. Ver and his partner of 2 years, Ayaka, have been lingering down in the Caribbean for several weeks now, ever since he began to seek economic citizenship on one of the islands, a maneuver necessary before obtaining full citizenship. That was granted weeks ago, and now he wants to renounce his U.S. citizenship as well.
That's probably a very smart thing to do.
Ver is a legend in the Bitcoin community, known as the Bitcoin Jesus for his tireless evangelism of the virtual currency. He's not Bitcoin's only voice, but he's quickly finding himself the last man standing. Newsweek rocked the Bitcoin world this week when it claimed to have identified the elusive founder of the currency, Satoshi Nakamoto, who it turns out is an elderly Japanese man by the same name, living in plain sight in California. Although there's some big questions as to whether or not this is actually, in point of fact, Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. I think a lot of people are saying there's no way in hell this guy's the actual Satoshi.
And I've heard other people say that he could be the real Satoshi, and that once video cameras showed up, he decided, you know what, I should put on an act that I'm not Satoshi.
Mm-hmm.
And one person in particular who said that, it's very likely that he did put his real name on the paper because he just figured, I'm writing some weird academic paper. It would be almost like if Jason Sorens, the guy that wrote the academic paper for what eventually became the Free State Project, if he would have decided, you know what, let me release this under a pseudonym, and then nobody would have known who he was. He was like, it's just some weird, goofy academic paper. I'll put my name on it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me because, as I understood it, Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous, or what was supposedly anonymous creator of Bitcoin, wanted to be anonymous. Why the hell would he use his real name?
I don't know.
Yeah, and he did trade emails with some of the people in the early days, like Gavin Andreessen, who's one of the primary developers of Bitcoin today. So, and all the evidence was that he was trying to obscure his identity. So it seems kind of silly that he would have just been using his real name the whole time and is some old guy that lives in California or something like that.
Yeah, Temple City, I believe it is.
Apparently, it led to a high-speed freeway car chase and a slew of commentary suggesting the unmasking of Nakamoto is the last nail in the coffin for a currency beleaguered of late with scandal. But Ver doesn't buy it. He says pretty much for sure it's not him, says Ver, who claims he's never met Nakamoto. If you read the posts on Amazon.com's product reviews written by the Newsweek Satoshi, and if you've read the actual white paper about Bitcoin written by the actual Bitcoin Satoshi, it's really, really clear that it's not the same person. Will the world ever know the real Nakamoto, I ask Bitcoin Jesus. Ver says, I hope not. We'll tell you more about Ver's story here in moments. Free Talk Live.
Virtually anyone can hack your cell phone and track your calls, your texts, your emails, your every movement, but only if they can detect a signal. Stay one step ahead of hackers and Big Brother with a Blockit Pocket, a custom-made pocket infused with pure silver that creates a complete Faraday enclosure for your cell phone. For free shipping to the lower 48, visit blockitpocket.com or call 888-315-9618. blockitpocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Did you know that organic sulfur can cleanse and defend your body against the poisons we're exposed to each day? Organic sulfur crystals from sulfurdefense.com help by forcing oxygen and nutrition into your cells while eliminating heavy metals, contaminants, and damaging radiation. Defend yourself and family from toxic assault with one of the most critical and essential minerals available today. Order online at sulfurdefense.com. That's sulfurdefense.com or call 800-593-6273.
Running a business without being incorporated is like walking a tightrope without a net. One little misstep could cost you your entire business, your personal assets, and even your life savings. But no matter how big or small your business is, you can quickly protect yourself and your family by incorporating or forming an LLC. Call LLC.com today, and we'll get you started by sending you our important free guide, 1-800-914-2967. At LLC.com, we don't offer legal or financial advice. We specialize in making incorporation simple, quick, and easy. In fact, we've been helping businesses do just that for over 100 years. Running a business without a safety net really is putting your whole future on the line, and your family's future. Find out how simple it is to protect your personal assets by incorporating. Request your free guide by calling 1-800-914-2967. This is information you really need to know. That number again is 1-800-914-2967. 1-800-914-2967.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Take control of the airwaves here toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. You can Skype into the show at username lrn.fm. Do send your contact request first. It will be approved, and it'll be easy for you at that point to get in touch with us on Skype. And if you have the choice, go ahead and use Skype. It usually sounds better than your phone. So you can join us either way. We've, of course, also got a website. You can go there, get interactive, and you can help support Free Talk Live in a variety of ways. One of them is to share the show. We've got archives up there. The archives go back for years. You can download as many episodes of Free Talk Live as you like, and if you find one of them that you really like, just share it on your Facebook page or your Twitter or wherever it is that you spend your time socially bookmarking and networking online. Please share your favorite Free Talk Live episodes. It makes a big difference for us when you do that. Now, you know what? If you care about your online privacy, you need to check out ProXPN. You can go to proxpn.com/FTL. And you can download their app for Windows, Macintosh, iOS devices, as well as Android devices. Plus, if you're a Linux user, you can get instructions. You do have to email them for the instructions. But you can get instructions on how to get your ProXPN set up on Linux. And it's
super easy.
Way easier than I thought it was going to be, because usually it seems like everything's more complicated on Linux, but you could argue that it's actually easier to get working on Linux than it is on those other operating systems. But anyway, proxpn.com/FTL, it's a global virtual private network. They encrypt your internet connection. So that way, your internet service provider, which currently is probably logging everything you do online, every website that you visit, every search term that you enter, logging that information for up to 5 years, meaning that it's easy for the government to access that info. You can stop that right now by using ProXPN. You go to proxpn.com/FTL, grab the app, get started with it, and then instantly you're protected from any future snooping by your ISP. In fact, ProXPN does not keep logs of your internet surfing and searching habits. So huge difference in privacy protection there. proxpn.com/FTL. Use our discount code to get 20% off the price of their premium account, which gives you unlimited bandwidth, and you get access to certain things you can't do with their free account, like privately torrenting. If you want to torrent privately, you can do that with ProXPN. Just go to proxpn.com/FTL. Plus, you can pick your server around the world which you would like to connect to, and that'll help protect your location. That way, websites you're visiting won't know where you are. proxpn.com/FTL. Plus, they get you around internet blocks if you're in a place like China or some coffee shop where they're not allowing you certain things, or a school or a workplace where you're prohibited from searching for certain terms or going to certain websites. ProXPN beats all that too. proxpn.com/FTL. Go get signed up. Get started tonight. There's a risk-free 7-day money-back guarantee, and you save 20% by using promo code FTL20 at proxpn.com/FTL. We're talking about Bitcoin Jesus, as he is called. His name is Roger Ver. He is actually a listener of Free Talk Live. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times in real life, actually a few times in real life. He's been to the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and I believe also to the New Hampshire Liberty Forum. He's definitely a supporter of liberty activism, supporter of a lot of the things that are happening here in New Hampshire, and definitely a supporter of Free Talk Live. We hold the claim to fame that we helped him find Bitcoin, that it was through Free Talk Live that he came across the idea of Bitcoin. He got really excited about it and apparently loaded up on them in the early days when they didn't cost very much money, and now he's doing pretty well for himself. He goes on, or the story here from Salon.com, it's called The Ballad of Bitcoin Jesus, goes on to talk, they were talking about how he's currently holed up in some sort of island nation attempting to withdraw his citizenship from the United States, and that he's kind of scared that they're coming after him. Anyway, go on with the story here. The Nakamoto saga, Nakamoto being Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator of the Bitcoin currency, comes on the heels of a string of public relations fiascos that have blackened Bitcoin's image. Now, the currency, whose value has fallen nearly 30% in the past month to around $650 per unit, finds itself fending off image erosion on both flanks. On the one hand, there's its close association to a now indicted kingpin with links to an underground network of hitmen. They're talking about the Silk Road, of course. On the other hand is the perception that Bitcoin is merely a speculative bubble like the Dutch tulip craze. In a sting operation last year, the FBI arrested Ross Ulbricht, the alleged mastermind behind Silk Road. By the way, got to meet Ross's mother in Austin.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, so she was really nice, and she was, of course, asking us to promote her website, freeross.org, and I assured her that we've been talking about the Ross Ulbricht situation since before Ross Ulbricht was known, and, of course, we'll continue to update you on that story as we learn more. But anyway, they allege that he is the mastermind behind Silk Road, which is an illicit marketplace because they took it down and then it came back a month later as Silk Road 2.0. An illicit marketplace for unsavory and illegal drugs. Ulbricht is charged with, among other things, the torture and assassination of rivals. Shortly thereafter came the arrest of Charlie Shrem, the CEO of a Bitcoin startup financed by the Winklevoss twins, who, according to the Department of Justice, sold over 1 million of the digital currency to drug dealers on the Silk Road. It didn't help matters that Shrem was the vice chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation. And this month came the biggest hit yet, the Lehman-like collapse of Mt. Gox, a virtual bank for the currency, exacerbating Bitcoin's PR problem at the worst possible time. Ver estimates that he lost over $1 million. meaning that Veer apparently had money in Mt. Gox, and they went belly up.
Ooh, that is not good.
I first made contact with the entrepreneur earlier this year through Twitter, then began exchanging information over email before finally conducting a lengthy interview with him over Skype. During that conversation, I learned that Veer and his partner are living in a mid-range hotel at one of the world's bluest beaches, where there's a swim-up bar and old ladies who sell handmade floral pattern shirts under the banyan trees. I mean, he's pretty much narrowing down where this guy is. In the beginning of the article, he said, I've sworn not to say where he is. And then he goes on to describe the hotel. He says it's a Caribbean island. I mean, I realize there's more than a handful of Caribbean islands.
There are a bunch of Caribbean islands.
But nonetheless, he's certainly narrowing down the area of the world.
And he also mentioned the economic citizenship, and that is not something that every country offers.
Right. That was also another clue. So he says he's on the Caribbean side of the island. The tourists congregate by 5:30 each winter night to watch the sunset. I know this because, strangely, I have stayed at this particular hotel before, more than a decade ago, when my college swim team visited the island to train. Not exactly the trappings of a Bitcoin millionaire. Veer says what a long, long road this has been. He explains his frustrations that he's encountered in denouncing his American citizenship. He said, I tried to make an appointment with the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo several weeks ago. They told me the soonest they could fit me in was March 19th. I didn't want to wait that long, so I wound up getting an appointment 4 days ago. I went there with all the paperwork in order, ready to renounce. They told me I'm not allowed to renounce yet, and I need to have a cooling off period to think about it, if it's something I really want to do. Which anybody who knows me knows I've been considering this for a long time. Whenever he's speaking, Veer's discontentment with America is in plain view, unfurling itself in unintentionally humorous ways, as when he portrays his current predicament. He says the U.S. is making it extremely difficult for me to stop being American. The discontentment is also there when he talks about the first time he was arrested at age 18 for staging a protest against tax day in his town's postal center. And it's there when he refers to his 8 months in federal prison more than a decade ago for selling firecrackers on eBay without a license. I wonder, why does anyone decide to cease being an American? He says it's just incredibly inconvenient. It's dangerous to travel to certain places, and the U.S. government uses all the money I pay them to kill people around the world. I'm not interested in participating in that type of system. However, the anger in Veer's voice when he talks or when he speaks about authority figures or government slackens entirely when he begins talk of Bitcoin. His excitement registers as quickness in his speech. Bitcoin is amazingly transformative, Veer expounds, because it's the first time in the entire history of the world in which anybody can now send or receive any amount of money with anyone else anywhere on the planet without having to ask permission from any bank or government. Nothing like that has ever existed before in the history of the world. The only way to stop this now would be to turn off the internet and keep it turned off. 855 450 free. More about Bitcoin Jesus Roger Veer here in a few moments. You can also take control and bring up anything you want. This is Free Talk Live.
The following is an important free offer for smokers only. The makers of Victor, the world's most advanced e-cigarette, have just authorized the release of free starter kits to all smokers who call in the next 10 minutes. Valued at $99, these Victor starter kits are available for free, but only while supplies last. To guarantee your free kit, call in the next 10 minutes, 1-800-564-6941. The revolutionary Victor design creates only water vapor. There is no foul-smelling smoke and no unhealthy tar. This allows individuals to enjoy the nicotine they love without restriction, no matter where they are. The financial advantages over cigarettes are considerable as well. It is estimated that the average smoker can save hundreds of dollars a month with Victor. Again, free Victor starter kits are now available to any smoker who calls in the next 10 minutes. This is a radio-only offer not available in stores, so call now for your free kit. 1-800-564-6941. 1-800-564-6941. 1-800-564-6941.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No hair removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No hair removal.
Thanks. Hey gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the no-no, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible no-no hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-6062. That's 800-953-6062. 800-953-6062.
A local grandmother is beginning to realize that her family never even looked for a better nursing home. A man leaves a father-daughter dance with a different girl than he came with, and an earthquake late warning system goes off in Haiti. Watch as yet another precious fraction of your life passes mercilessly in front of your very eyes. This is the Onion Week in Review. Shortly after discovering he had locked himself outside of his suburban home Thursday, fully nude claims adjuster David Ronzo delivered a moving and thought-provoking treatise on the frailty of the human condition to a slowly gathering crowd of his neighbors. Ronzo, who initially panicked when he realized he was naked, soon turned and faced confused passersby and delivered a stirring oration on the grim facts of mortality, along with the indomitable nature of the human spirit. In other news, a man is arrested for stealing over $50,000 worth of beards from Hank Williams Jr. A pretty lady is playing hard to follow, and a dog named Murph lives up to his name. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. This is Mark of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the economic engine that powers our country. With a printing press tethered to Washington bureaucrats and New York central bankers, how can we trust paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, or go to gold.freetalklive.com. Again, 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm. Free.
Free Talk Live, take control here toll free at 855-450-FREE. Coming up, the CEO of Tesla Motors, you know, the company that's been making cars that are 100% electric, and they look pretty nice too. Like the designs are pretty fancy.
They're luxury electric cars.
Yeah, and they look really sharp. But apparently they've been halted. Their sales has been stopped in New Jersey, and Tesla Motors chief CEO and product architect Elon Musk has something to say about what happened in New Jersey. We'll share his thoughts here in a moment. And also other car-related news, Daryl. There's a company called Uber, which is a ride-sharing company that helps people get from point A to point B.
Not necessarily ride-sharing.
Really? I thought that was the term that they use.
They are a taxi service, but all of their drivers are independent contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And Uber does not actually own the cars.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that I've seen the term rideshare used with them, and I don't think they would accept the term taxi, because I think that's something that has certain legal connotations associated with it, which is one of the issues, is that they're being stopped from doing business in a lot of places by governments that are trying to basically say that they are a taxi service, and so they have to jump through all kinds of licensing. And anyway, you have something in relation to them in the city of Houston, right?
Yes.
What's
a cease and desist order issued by the city attorney in Houston against not just Uber, but everyone in the city of Houston.
We'll get into that here when we get a chance. But more about Roger Ver. He is one of the biggest proponents of Bitcoin, an early adopter, and now doing very well for himself, because I don't know at what price he bought in, but it was before we did. And They couldn't have been very much money when he first got into Bitcoin. He's been a huge advocate of it, and now he believes that the government is after him, so he is no longer in the United States. In fact, he's actively trying to rescind his so-called citizenship. Bitcoin Jesus first came into public view last year when he gave the largest ever charitable donation in the currency, $1 million, to the Foundation for Economic Education, a nonprofit closely associated with libertarianism. Founded in 1946, FEE notably opposed the Marshall Plan, Social Security, and minimum wages. A strain of libertarianism runs through Veer's own personal philosophy. He says, if there's no victim, it shouldn't be a crime. I like to call myself a voluntarist. That means that I think that all human interaction should be on a voluntary basis, and that nobody should be able to use force or fraud in any human interaction whatsoever. Veer's voluntarism, a kind of hyper-libertarianism, seems rooted in his childhood, which he recounts with a hint of mythologizing. He was born to Christian fundamentalist parents in San Jose, although he hasn't spoken to them in over a decade. His father kicked him out of the house when he was 16, Veer explains, when he nearly succeeded in having his father arrested for grand theft auto. As the story goes, entrepreneurship was an important part of Veer's life from early on. He started selling candy bars in junior high, pocketing $50 a week. By high school, he began to earn real money and purchased himself a white Ford Mustang. His parents disapproved of the purchase, and when his father placed an ad in a local paper to sell it, Veer says he called the police, who told his father they would arrest him if he didn't withdraw the ad. Veer went on to start a business, Emery Dealers, a kind of wholesaler for computer parts that made him a millionaire by his 30s. Then along came a surprise that changed his life, Bitcoin. He was eating a bowl of Wheaties in late February 2011, alone in his kitchen in San Jose, when, as he was listening to a podcast about the currency, that's Free Talk Live, suddenly interest in it swept all over him. I didn't leave the house for over a week and had just had food delivered. I only slept maybe 1 or 2 hours a night for over a week. After a week of being on this Bitcoin binge, I got so sick, I had to call my friend, please come help me to the hospital. His obsession with Bitcoin had threatened to kill him. That spring, he made his first Bitcoin investment. Here you go. Okay, here's the info we were looking for. He spent $25,000 on Bitcoin back when they cost around $2 each. That was followed by even more transactions. By summer, the price of Bitcoin had exploded to $30, and by August, Veer was a Bitcoin millionaire. Despite the currency's recent tribulations, Veer remains optimistic. He says 5 years from now, over $100,000 for a single Bitcoin is well within the realm of possibility, he says. I'm not calling and predicting that they will be, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility. These days, Veer lives as much as he can off of Bitcoin. Plane tickets, hotel bills, even the odd haircut, all Bitcoin. He keeps a home in Tokyo and another in the Caribbean. He's growing concerned about his safety and is sympathetic to Ulbricht, the indicted Silk Road honcho. He says, I think he's actually a hero for setting up the Silk Road and doing that sort of thing. I don't believe the government accusations that he was trying to hire a hitman, especially that he was offering to pay the hitman by a wire transfer. To me, it seems absolutely impossible. And I suspect that what was going on there is the government wanted to have his character assassinated, because if they had just arrested him solely for selling drugs and setting up the website and not having conspired to have anybody murdered, I think he would have quickly become a folk hero and people would have rallied to his cause. And that's why they added all those murder for hire charges to that. Veer believes federal agents could swoop in and smother his future with conspiracy charges. For the most part, he says, if the U.S. government really wants to get you, they're going to get you. So hopefully they should focus on other things other than me. But it's a real fear. He pauses. It's sunny today in Redacted, and we're almost out of time. I don't think I'm likely to be assassinated, but I worry about being sent to federal prison for some sort of made-up charge for crime where there is no victim. In the end, there is hope from Veer that sticks with you. It's wild-eyed optimism, utopian perhaps, but irresistibly positive. I want to believe him. I want him to be right. It's gospel for some in these digital times. He says, I think examples of free market transactions between peaceful people using Bitcoin and the internet, I think it's a wonderful thing. It's going to make the world a better place. And you could argue that it already has, that Bitcoin has done what it set out to do. And now we're still, just feeling the effects of it, and we'll see interesting new developments and, new innovations around Bitcoin, making Bitcoin easier to use, seeing Bitcoin spread into new businesses. Daryl, you and I were at the Corner News here in Keene, New Hampshire today. We both made purchases with Bitcoin, but it was a little rocky.
Yeah.
It was a little rocky. Usually it's pretty fast. Usually when I'm in there buying something, and I send Bitcoin with my blockchain.info app, literally within 2 or 3 seconds, there's, it's indicated that the transaction is coming through.
And I went back this afternoon to get the merchant app.
Well, earlier when we were in there, it took a couple minutes.
It took a couple of minutes. I went back, got the merchant app installed on the owner's phone, wasn't able to get it installed on her worker's phone because the worker has an iPhone.
Oh, man.
And the app is only for Android. But
because Apple hates Bitcoin.
Probably.
Yeah.
I went through, or showed the worker how to go through the thing on the website that I have set up for them. And I made a purchase, bought a Slim Jim for like $1.50, and it went through in like 10 seconds.
Okay.
So this afternoon it was fine. This morning it was just a little wonky.
Yeah, and we don't know why that is. These are things that are going to get ironed out over time as more businesses enter the space of providing Bitcoin merchant services. They're going to want to be sure that they can help merchants get their transactions as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And you're going to see upgrades to the Bitcoin currency itself, as we've already seen. They're improving Bitcoin, unlike dollars, which don't get improved except they put some sort of strip in with colors on it. Bitcoin actually has new feature sets that come out over time.
And one thing that the owner of the store told us when we were there this morning is her credit card machine no longer goes over the telephone line.
That's right.
It now goes through the internet. And she said that she's been having issues with the service going out. So there are periods of time during the day when she can't take a debit card or a credit card.
So even that network isn't perfect.
Right. So that's the point. Like, people think, oh, well, credit card, debit card, what could go wrong? Well, the power could go out.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, that's going to affect Bitcoin as well as the power goes out.
If the power goes out, my smartphone and your smartphone are both going to work.
That's true.
During a temporary power outage.
True. So long as the phone company still has power. Because if power goes out and the phone companies aren't battery backup, and they probably are. Most of the time they are. But there have actually been times
when the power goes out, I still have a cell phone signal.
Yeah, most of the time the cell phone companies will keep their systems up because they're battery backup. 855-450-FREE. That's the Pro XPN toll-free line. You can take control of the airwaves here. Another innovator. We're talking about innovations here. The Bitcoin, of course, big innovation. But Tesla Motors is an innovator. They're making cars that are fancy and electric, 100% electric only. But they've been banned from doing business direct to consumer in New Jersey, and the CEO has a few words to say about it coming up on Free Talk Live.
Right now until March 18th, the flooring experts at Lumber Liquidators have huge deals going to fit any taste or budget, like donor oak laminate for an amazing 39 cents a square foot, beautiful carbonized bamboo for just $139, even spectacular Bellawood pre-finished Bolivian rosewood for an incredible $299 a square foot. Pick up free samples at hundreds of stores nationwide, plus special financing available and easy professional installation or expert advice for DIYers. But hurry, this sale ends March 18th. Visit lumberliquidators.com to find a store near you.
MeowBit is free software from the Freedom Fiends that allows you to effortlessly view .bit websites. MeowBit works on all browsers. .bit is a new type of web address that's not controlled by any government or corporation. And we'll show you how to register a .bit domain today using a few cents worth of Namecoin. If anyone ever shuts down your .com website, users will still be able to get to your site using your .bit address in our free software, MeowBit. Go to meowbit.com. That's MEOWBIT.com.
Imagine for a moment a radio program, the most personal of mediums, that reaches hundreds of thousands of people on more than 140 radio stations across the U.S. and around the world through the internet with podcasts and live streams. Imagine the advertising is affordable from $600 to $6,000 a month. Free Talk Live is that program. We will work with you to get clicks, calls, views, or sales. email me at mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your source for Liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Friday, March 14th, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,376, silver opened at $21.50, and Bitcoin is trading at $632. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from Sovereign BTC, media, marketing, and consulting for the Bitcoin ecosystem, operated by Liberty Beat founder John Bush. Online, sovereignbtc.com. Support also comes from Dorothy Erminger at Capstar Lending. For your residential mortgage needs, call Dorothy, 512-343-6494, or apply online at calldorothy.com, NMLS 216624. Support for the Liberty Beat also comes from My Magic Mud, available at Brave New Books or online at mymagicmud.com. In the news, Facebook is one of the favorite tools of the NSA. That's the latest revelation from Edward Snowden, as published on journalist Glenn Greenwald's website, Intercept. According to Snowden, the NSA uses what's known as a man-on-the-side technique to disguise itself as a fake Facebook server. Codenamed Quantum Hand, the maneuver allows the agency to transmit data packets that trick the computer into thinking they're legitimately sent from Facebook. That allows the NSA full access into the targeted computer. The Washington Times reports that, if confirmed, the program would put millions of Facebook users at risk. On Thursday, the Food and Drug Administration commissioner stated that the agency is still deciding whether to approve a genetically engineered fish. FDA Commissioner Margaret Hamburg said they were reviewing over 30,000 comments on the Aqua Bounty salmon. Speaking to the U.S. Senate's Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, Hamburg said they are moving forward in a deliberate, science-driven way. All it would take to bring down the entire United States power grid is the sabotage of 9 of the more than 55,000 electric substations across the nation. That's the finding of a study by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which shows that only a few substations provide the bulk of the nation's electricity. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from Brave New Books, now offering Pro Pure Water Filtration, the only gravity-driven all-in-one fluoride removal system that also alkalizes the water. Find them in Austin, 1904 Guadalupe Street, or online at bravenewbookstore.com. Support comes from Mass Appeal, affordable, high-quality printing, now accepting Bitcoin, online at massappealinc.com, and from growyourowngroceries.org, homegrown food on every table. That's growyourowngroceries.org. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, March 14th, 2014. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. As President Obama's decision on the northern leg of the Keystone XL pipeline inches closer, he's being encouraged by a former advisor. Retired General James Jones, a former Obama administration national security advisor, asked the president to approve the pipeline to send a message to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Jones said the president must make it clear that international bullies cannot use energy security as a weapon. Attorney General Eric Holder on Thursday voiced his support for shorter prison sentences for nonviolent drug traffickers as part of a Justice Department effort. The New York Times reports the push to lower sentences is viewed as a way to bring down federal prison costs while creating a more humanitarian approach to drug crimes. Holder told the Sentencing Commission that in a country where nearly half of all federal inmates are serving time for drug offenses, the harshest penalties should be reserved for violent criminals. At the age of 27, Stephen Powers suffered serious injuries to his face and skull as the result of a motorcycle crash. Powers' skull, upper jaw, nose, and cheekbones were shattered. For years, doctors struggled with facial reconstructive surgery, but now with the help of 3D printing, Power has been given a new face. Doctors at Morriston Hospital in Wales use 3D printing to create models to fashion new bones and facial implants. They used a combination of 3D printed materials and medical-grade titanium to reconstruct Power's skull with precision never before seen. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Affordable Sound, CD and DVD duplication, along with posters and promotions materials. Online at affordablesound.com or give them a call, 512-459-5253. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, March 14th, 2014. I'm Brian Hagan reporting. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Jode Cress Beckler. From claim jumpers to politicians to coyotes, the straight shooter that shook up the presidential race is taking them all on and licking them good.
Hello, Jode.
Who and what's behind these potato monkey shines?
Well, these scientists are trying to mass-produce potatoes that are more resistant to disease, but they're doing so in potentially dangerous ways that alter their DNA.
Tater disease, what brung us Irish.
Right.
You give a tater man's constitution, you can bet he's coming to pay old Joe to call.
Yes, well, nature's revenge could come in the form of disease
now you listen
or
to
allergens.
me, taters. You got gave a mind of a tater.
Jode, please, let me make my point.
You're tater-minded and you're looking to infiltrate old Joe's cabin, but you're too late.
No.
Now you get out, or
right,
I'll
Jode.
slice your tater heart out and fry it up on my grill.
Okay, Jode.
Now y'all stay close. You're gonna have my jug band back here, and if Jasper don't let me strum the washboard, we're gonna resort to cutting.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control toll-free here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. However, you aren't allowed to call in about the exact same topic every single night. We do have a few general rules here on Free Talk Live, and usually we don't have to pull out those rules because most people seem to understand that it's really bad radio to call in about the exact same thing every single night. So if that's what you're doing, you're not going to be allowed to call in to Free Talk Live. So keep that in mind. Try to keep it fresh, keep it original. We want to hear your thoughts on issues, things that you think are important. 855-450-FREE. That is the Pro XPN toll-free line. Coming up, the ride-sharing, taxi sort of-ish company Uber. And if you do go look them up on Wikipedia, Daryl, you will see a description of them that describes them as that they are a ride-sharing service. They are also, according to the Wikipedia article, they are a company that has a mobile application that connects passengers with drivers of vehicles for hire and ride-sharing services. So I guess you can ride-share and vehicle for hire. I'm not really sure what the difference is there, but we'll talk more about
the difference. I can tell you the difference. The difference is if I'm driving to Manchester and I say, hey, anybody in the Keene area need to go to Manchester.
That would be a ride share.
That's a ride share.
But you would collect money if you were doing it through Uber.
I could collect money if I just said I'm going this way. Anybody want to go?
So anyway,
a vehicle for hire is when somebody calls up a driver and says, I need to go to X place, and the driver might not necessarily have been intending to go to X location, but the driver will do it on a for-hire service.
Right, and now Uber is, there's some hot water happening in the city of Houston over Uber and other ride-sharing services, etc. We'll talk about that. But since we're on the car topic here, there's news about Tesla Motors. The chief of Tesla Motors, the founder, chairman, product architect, CEO, I'm not sure if he's the founder, but he's certainly high up there at Tesla, has written a letter to the people of New Jersey. In response to what has happened there, they have been halted from selling their cars direct to consumer. And that's kind of the news headline that we've seen all over the place. Tesla forced to halt sales in New Jersey, according to PC Magazine. Let's see. The Governor Chris Christie's office has been slammed by Tesla Motors. They are going to be forced to shut down sales operations effective April 1st, said a Tesla spokesman. And we'll just jump right into the blog post from TeslaMotors.com from their chairman, product architect, and CEO. On Tuesday, under pressure from the New Jersey auto dealer lobby to protect its monopoly, the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission, composed of political appointees of the governor, ended your right to purchase vehicles at a manufacturer's store within the state. Governor Christie had promised that this would be put to a vote of the elected state state legislature, which is the appropriate way to change the law. When it became apparent to the auto dealer lobby that this approach would not succeed, they cut a backroom deal with the governor to circumvent the legislative process and pass a regulation that is fundamentally contrary to the intent of the law. It's worth examining the history of these laws just to understand why they exist, as the auto dealer franchise laws were originally put in place for a just cause and are now being twisted to an unjust purpose. Many decades, which is very typical with law. People come up with an idea for a law and they have this great vision, this great plan for what they think it's going to help. And then later on, well, it turns out that number one, you don't write the law yourself. It's written up by a committee of people, government politicians, and then eventually...
Not necessarily. Because here in New Hampshire, and I know for a fact that it's similar in other states, to where you as a quote-unquote citizen can call up your legislator and say, hey, I've got this idea for a bill. Will you introduce it? And in a lot of places, you have to write up the proposal yourself.
Well, okay, you can write it, but ultimately what gets passed isn't what you wrote, because the committees get their hands on it and they start playing political football with it. So, yeah, okay, in New Hampshire, you can write the initial piece of legislation, but whatever comes out of the committees isn't necessarily what you wrote. In fact, they can completely change the intentions of what you originally wrote. So that was what the point I was trying to make. So anyway, the CEO of Tesla Motors, Elon Musk, goes on to explain what he believed the history of these laws were, these dealership laws, basically. Many decades ago, he says the incumbent auto manufacturers sold franchises to generate capital and gain a sales force. The franchisees then further invested a lot of their money and time in building up the dealerships. That's a fair deal, and it should not be broken. However, some of the big auto companies later engaged in pressure tactics to get the franchisees to sell their dealerships back at a low price. Franchisees rightly sought protection from their state legislatures, which resulted in laws on the books today throughout the United States. And these laws are not present anywhere else in the world. I don't really understand what the reason for that was. He says the intent was simply to prevent a fair and long-standing deal between an existing auto company and its dealers from being broken, not to prevent a new company that has no franchisees from selling directly to consumers. In most states, I guess I see what he's saying. The auto manufacturers were trying to yank the distributorships from some of their franchisees.
Like, Chevrolet, which has had, franchisees or, the various outlets for years, would not be able to just come in, absent this law, they could just come in and start selling themselves, but it doesn't really make sense for Chevrolet to come in and sell direct because they're so huge. It does make sense for a small car company to sell direct.
In most states, the laws are reasonable and clear. In a handful of states, the laws were written in an overzealous or ambiguous manner. When all auto companies sold through franchises, this didn't really matter. However, when Tesla came along as a new company with no existing franchisees, the auto dealers, who possess vastly more resources and influence than Tesla, nonetheless sought to force us to sell through them. The reason that we did not choose to do this is that the auto dealers have a fundamental conflict of interest between promoting gasoline cars, which constitute virtually all of their revenue, and electric cars, which constitute virtually none. Moreover, it's much harder to sell a new technology car from a new company when people are so used to the old. Inevitably, they revert to selling what's easy, and it's game over for the new company. The evidence is clear. When has an American startup auto company ever succeeded by selling through auto dealers? The last successful American car company was Chrysler, which was founded almost a century ago. And even they went bankrupt a few years ago, along with General Motors. Since the founding of Chrysler, there have been dozens of failures, Tucker and DeLorean simply being the most well-known. In recent years, electric car startups such as Fisker, Coda, and many others attempted to use auto dealers, and all failed. An even bigger conflict of interest with auto dealers is they make most of their profit from service. But electric cars require much less service than gasoline cars. There are no oil, spark plug, or fuel filter changes, no tune-ups, no smog checks required for an electric car. Also, all Tesla Model S vehicles are capable of over-the-air updates to upgrade their software, just like your phone or computer. So no visit to the service center is required for that either. Going a step further, I've made it a principle within Tesla that we should never attempt to make servicing a profit center. It doesn't seem right to me that companies try to make a profit off consumers when their product breaks. Overcharging people for unneeded servicing, and often not even fixing the original problem, is rampant within the auto industry and happened to me personally on several occasions when I drove gasoline cars. I resolved we would endeavor never to do such a thing at Tesla, as described in a Tesla service blog post that I wrote last year. So why did they claim that this change was necessary? That is, to prevent Tesla Motors from selling directly to consumers.
Because
in
New Jersey has always hated Tesla because of Edison.
We'll come back with more here in moments. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you can take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live. Maybe you work in the auto business. You've got some comments. It's Free Talk Live.
The following is an important free offer for smokers only. The makers of Victor, the world's most advanced e-cigarette, have just authorized the release of free starter kits to all smokers who call in the next 10 minutes. Valued at $99, these Victor starter kits are available for free, but only while supplies last. To guarantee your free kit, call in the next 10 minutes, 1-800-564-6941. The revolutionary Victor design creates only water vapor. There is no foul-smelling smoke and no unhealthy tar. This allows individuals to enjoy the nicotine they love without restriction, no matter where they are. The financial advantages over cigarettes are considerable as well. It is estimated that the average smoker can save hundreds of dollars a month with Victor. Again, free Victor starter kits are now available to any smoker who calls in the next 10 minutes. This is a radio-only offer not available in stores, so call now for your free kit. 1-800-564-6941. 1-800-564-6941. 1-800-564-6941.
Hi, this is Mark Edge, host of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the very economic engine that powers this country. With a printing press tethered to Washington politicians, bureaucrats, and central bankers, how can we put our trust in paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Come see gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold. With Washington, D.C. delivering more debt and printed promises, common sense tells us the future of the trend is obvious. Everyone listening should visit gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938. I trust Midas Resources for my gold, silver, platinum, and you can too. Again, I want you to have this book, and it's free. It's gold.freetalklive.com or 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
When I signed up for the Free State Project, I was excited by the prospect of moving somewhere with other people that had liberty as a goal. When I got here to New Hampshire, I was stunned by the great weather and the natural beauty. The Free State Project is helping to move liberty forward. Want to be involved? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org. That's freestateproject.org.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Bring up whatever you want right here, toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we've got Skype. You can Skype into the show. Our username is lrn.fm. Still to come, more of the controversy over ride-sharing company Uber and what's happening in Houston, where Houston politicians and government bureaucrats are really upset. Daryl's got the story about that, and also we'll continue here with the CEO of Tesla Motors. He is Elon Musk, the chairman and product architect of the company. He is pretty upset about what's happened in New Jersey, where they have banned his company from doing business because they just wanted to sell their product to people without a middleman. They didn't want to do a dealership model kind of business for the automotive world. They wanted to just sell direct to consumer. And now the dealerships are upset because they want to get a piece of the action. And if they can't have a piece, then no one can have Tesla Motors. At least no one can sell Tesla Motors in New Jersey. That's what's happening now. We'll continue that story here in moments. Also, to let you know how to get Bitcoins, we were talking in the last hour quite a bit about Bitcoins. They're a very exciting currency and financial transaction system, financial network. Bitcoins are amazing. You really owe it to yourself to go and check them out at weusecoins.com. And when you have your wallet, which you can get right now over at blockchain.info for free, when you have your wallet ready, you've got to put some coins in it. You can do that by going to cashintocoins.com. It's probably the easiest way to get Bitcoins. The instructions are very simple. It's fast, safe, legal, and inexpensive. Plus, customer service is their top priority. You can use money order, check, or wire transfer. Plus, their rates are awesome. Plus, you can donate some of your fee to charity. And as always, if you want to make it so there's no fee at Cash Into Coins, just order less than $40 worth of Bitcoin. Maybe you just want to dabble a little bit, or you don't have that much to spend on Bitcoins. Again, you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin, and you're definitely going to be getting a fraction of a Bitcoin for $40. But if you do $40 or less, then there's no fee, or orders under $40 carry no fee at cashintocoins.com. Cashintocoins.com. Daryl and I, we both used Cash Into Coins, and I will probably use them in the future. Cashintocoins.com. They make it easy. So let's go back to the email here. I guess not email, but blog post from Tesla Motors.
One thing that I realize it's not entirely related, but Tesla has actually sold cars for Bitcoin.
No way, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's really exciting. I had not heard about that.
Yeah, that happened several months ago.
Huh.
That happened several months before I sold my car for Bitcoin.
That's huge. I mean, are they the first major car company to do that, or have there been some dealerships that have also been taking Bitcoin?
As far as I know, Tesla was the first business to ever sell a car for Bitcoin.
So what's happening in New Jersey is Tesla has been prohibited from doing business, or from continuing to do business, because they were doing business, and they're going to be forced to stop in about 2 weeks. So the beginning of April, it'll be over for Tesla Motors in New Jersey. And the CEO has a few words to say in his open letter to the people of New Jersey on teslamotors.com. Why did they claim that this was necessary? Well, the rationale given for the regulation change that requires auto companies to sell through dealers is that it ensures consumer protection. If you believe this, Governor Christie has a bridge closure he wants to sell you. Unless they're referring to the mafia version of protection, this is obviously untrue. As anyone who's ever been through the conventional auto dealer purchase process knows, consumer protection is pretty much the furthest thing from the typical car dealer's mind. There are other ways to assess the premise that auto dealers take better care of customers than Tesla does. Consumer Reports conducts an annual survey of 1.1 million subscribers, which factors in quality, reliability, and consumer satisfaction. The Tesla Model S was the overall top pick of any vehicle in the world, scoring 99 out of 100. This is the highest score any car has ever received. By comparison, the industry report card Ford, which sells their cars through franchise dealers, received a score of 50. BMW, which makes competing premium sedans, received a score of 66. Consumers across the country have voiced their opinion on the sales model that they prefer. In North Carolina, a Triangle Business Journal poll found that 97% of people polled said Tesla should be allowed to sell cars directly. A poll by the Austin Business Journal showed that 86% of respondents were in favor of direct sales. And in a Los Angeles Times poll, 99% of respondents came to the same conclusion. These aren't polls that we commissioned, and there are many more like them. We have not seen a single poll that didn't result in an overwhelming majority saying that they preferred the direct model to the traditional dealer model. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't you want to cut out the middleman? Why wouldn't you want to go straight to the manufacturer? If you can get a product straight from the manufacturer, you know you're going to get it at probably the best price.
But Ian, if you cut out the middleman, then think about all of those starving families that you will then have.
Right, because all those middlemen couldn't possibly work anywhere else.
We need more middlemen. And then we can solve the unemployment problem.
Well, this is the old way, Daryl. I mean, what you're talking about is sort of the old method of doing business. And now in this day and age, in this information super age that we have, it's easy to cut out the middleman. It's happening in businesses all over the place, and it's to the benefit of customers. Now, there are still examples where if you buy from a dealer, or if you don't buy from a dealer, if you buy from the vendor, the manufacturer, if you buy from a manufacturer, right, you will actually pay more than buying from a dealer. That's because they're giving their dealers special wholesale prices, and they have agreed to not undercut them. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why those things happen. But for the most part, if you're buying from the manufacturer, you can get the best deal in a lot of cases. And obviously the middlemen are very, very threatened by that sort of thing. So the essay here goes on from TeslaMotors.com. Democracy, he writes, is supposed to be reflecting the will of the people. When a politician acts in a manner so radically opposed to the will of the people who elected him, the only explanation is there are other factors at play. Some reassurances are also in order. Until at least April 1st, everything is business as usual for Tesla in New Jersey. It should be noted this regulation deals only with sales, so our service centers will not be affected. Our stores will transition to being galleries where you can see the car and ask questions of our staff, but we will not be able to discuss price or complete a sale in the store. However, that can still be done at our Manhattan store just over the river in Chelsea or our King of Prussia store near Philadelphia. So you can go look at the cars in New Jersey and talk about the cars in New Jersey with their people, but if you want to buy one, you'll have to take a little trip. More importantly, even after April 1st, you will still be able to order vehicles from New Jersey for delivery in New Jersey from our TeslaMotors.com website. So I guess if you're in their New Jersey store, they'll just send you home with a URL and tell you how you can buy the car online. We're evaluating judicial remedies to correct the situation, and if you believe that your right to buy direct at Tesla should be restored, please contact your state senator and assemblyman. They then give you the appropriate link to give you that contact information. He says, finally, we would like to thank the many people who showed up in Trenton on Tuesdays to support Tesla and speak out against the MVC's backdoor tactics, that's Motor Vehicle Commission, in passing this regulation change without public consultation or due process. It was an amazing response at very short notice and much appreciated. Well, I wish them the best of luck. Of course, New Jersey is one of the most notoriously corrupt places to be and to do business, so I don't expect you're going to see any sort of change there anytime soon, but I would love love to be proven wrong. The toll-free number here tonight is 855-450-FREE. Coming up, the ride-sharing service Uber and what the Houston politicians are doing. They're freaking out. It's Free Talk Live.
It's already too late. Criminals have kicked in your door and are now in your home. Before this happens, homeowners have a choice. 1, do nothing and hope you aren't one of the 1.4 million families attacked each year. Or 2, refuse to be a victim. And for as low as $59, reinforce your doors with Door Devils. Door Devils simply attach to existing door frames and have proven to stop the biggest bad guys from kicking in doors. Read our police testimonials of real-life events at doordevil.com. Alarms don't stop kick-ins. We do. doordevil.com.
That's the sound of your door being kicked in by an intruder with a single kick. Criminals know that your doors are weak and your alarm system can't keep them out. That's the sound of the same door, now protected by the Door Sentinel. Standard locks, deadbolts, and alarm systems can't prevent forced entry. Harden your door and door jamb with the Door Sentinel. Go to mysafedoor.com. That's mysafedoor.com and enter coupon code SAFE for 15% off of your order. The Door Sentinel, your home's first line of defense.
This is novelist Tom Robbins. When my mother was diagnosed with glaucoma, her conservative Virginia physician told her there was only one treatment that might ease her pain and save her eyesight. That treatment was medical marijuana, which he could not prescribe. I offered to get her some and teach her how to use it effectively, but my father objected because marijuana was against the law. So my mother, who loved to read and walk in nature, was condemned to grow cruelly, unnecessarily blind. Tragedies like this happen all the time, but they don't have to keep happening. To learn more about medical marijuana, call the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Ovaltine. Give your kids the nutrition they need to be their best. Visit us at ovaltineusa.com. Telling your child about healthy food choices is important, but showing her what to eat goes a lot further. Have her help create the grocery list, then bring her to the store with you. Picking out healthy foods together helps kids get in the habit of thinking about what they're eating every day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. Take control. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Daryl.
We've got a website. You can go there and enjoy all kinds of great features, which include our mobile site. Those of you with a smartphone can go to mobile.freetalklive.com to get quick access to our live streams and the podcast. All of it is free. Our mobile site, again, is m.freetalklive.com. Now, if you're looking for camping, hunting, survival, or shooting gear, go check out manventureoutpost.com. They carry the name brands you want at the lowest prices on handguns, long guns, ammunition, knives, scopes, binoculars, laser sights, tactical flashlights, fish finders, optics, firearm accessories, archery, air guns, holsters, water purification, tents, apparel, and boating equipment. ManVentureOutpost.com. They're family-owned, and they have the lowest prices. But don't take my word for it. Go and check it out for yourself. ManVentureOutpost.com. Get it quick. Get it from ManVentureOutpost.com. As we go to the phones and your thoughts, coming up, Daryl's going to tell us about how the politicians and bureaucrats in Houston, Texas are freaking out over what the company Uber has been doing there. And we'll go first to your phone calls, though. Brian is listening in Los Angeles. You're on Free Talk Live, Brian.
Hey, and this is Brian. Like I said, Brian, I was listening Monday to you guys talking about the e-cigarette ban that Los Angeles has going on.
Yes, sir.
And I have a $1 million idea for some entrepreneur out there.
All right.
They need to take the e-cigarette dispensers and make them in the shape of an asthma inhaler, and then you don't have to worry about them getting kicked out of restaurants or buses or theaters.
That is really smart. You know, that I think is brilliant, actually. And that is, you're right, because the reason why e-cigarettes are being banned is because people are saying, the critics are saying, well, it looks like smoking, and that could make children want to smoke. And so what you're saying is if it doesn't look like smoking anymore, if it instead looks like somebody's got an asthma inhaler, then that would probably be enough at the very least to avoid the e-cigarette ban, because the people who were looking to enforce it probably wouldn't necessarily recognize or realize that those were actually e-cigarettes.
Yeah, I imagine it would be a pretty easy modification for somebody who knows how to do those things.
That's good stuff, Brian. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else you want to get out there?
That's about it. Thank you very much for your work.
Thanks for the call tonight. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE, the e-cigarette ban. Very, very concerning.
I've got concerns about making the e-cigarette look like an inhaler.
Why?
Because we already know that there are laws and regulations against possessing synthetic forms of substances. And
you mean like bath salts?
Well, not only bath salts, but also prescription drugs. It is illegal to possess synthetics of those.
Okay. Without a prescription.
Without a prescription. Well, no, it's illegal to possess the synthetic of a prescription drug.
Okay.
It's illegal to possess the prescription drug without a prescription. Inhalers are prescription medication.
Right.
So if you're possessing something that appears to be an inhaler, I could see some overly zealous cops going around arresting people for, using what appears to be an inhaler without a prescription for an inhaler.
I don't know. Maybe. Are the police the ones that are enforcing the e-cigarette ban, or is it the health department?
I don't know. The police enforce all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they do.
You can't have a lit cigarette within so many feet of, an entryway into a building in a lot of places. It's the cops that go around and write those tickets. It's
not
the
always.
cops
not
that
always. Sometimes
go
it's the health
around
department
and arrest people for having things that synthesize the effects of cannabis.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see what you're saying, but I guess it wouldn't surprise me if it did happen, but it does seem to be a bit of a stretch. There's the idea of the bans you're talking about, where if I say, Daryl, I'm going to sell you a bag of marijuana, and then I instead sell you a bag of some other green leafy substance, that's a crime of selling something purported as an illegal drug.
Right.
Which I think is kind of similar to what you're getting at when you say that these e-cigarette inhaler-looking devices could be confused by a police officer.
Well, I was reading over a bill here in New Hampshire last night where they're wanting to modify the law for synthetic drug analogs. And currently, the law says that any synthetic drug analog is supposed to be designed with the intent to replicate the effects of something that is banned.
Okay.
They want to change that to say anything that produces an effect of something that is banned. So to broaden it. So, for instance, if you smoke nutmeg, it will get you high, very similar to if you smoke cannabis.
I thought you had to eat nutmeg. I didn't know you could smoke the nutmeg. Are you sure about that, Daryl?
I have been told that smoking nutmeg.
I've heard if you eat enough nutmeg, you'll trip. But you've got to eat
probably
like a jar
that as
of it.
well.
You have to eat an S load of nutmeg.
But if you smoke nutmeg,
all right,
it will get you high. Based on this new wording, if it goes through, then anyone with nutmeg with the intent to smoke could then wind up finding themselves in jail, even though nutmeg was not produced to give off the effect. It just happens to have the effect.
Smoking nutmeg can make you high, according to ask.com, due to the chemical myristicin, which can give you a nice buzz when taken in a moderate amount. However, too much of this substance can be very risky because it can cause death. So if you think that it's going to be like marijuana, you might want to think twice. Now, that's obviously a very, very cursory examination into the topic. I would recommend you, if you're going to consider doing something like smoking nutmeg, you may want to do some research first to find out what other people's experiences have been. And I think he just put down the nutmeg pipe. Dave is with us in Poughkeepsie. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, guys. First, I just want to say that there's a guy on Zello. His name is Chuck. Keeps on making fun of my friend, calling her a crackhead, which is wrong. Chuck, if you keep on making fun of my friend, I'm going to find
Dave,
you.
we're not using Free Talk Live to threaten people. That's not what we do here on Free Talk Live.
There's a guy. He keeps making fun of my friend.
Dave,
Keep calling her a crackhead. She's
Dave,
not a crackhead.
No one knows what you're talking about. They can't relate to it. It has nothing to do with anything except your own personal issues that you have with people on the internet. And you attract these conversations to yourself, Dave, by going and putting yourself in places where people have anonymity and they aren't afraid to say what they really think and be really nasty towards other people. So I don't know if you're looking for sympathy or if you were just using the airwaves to threaten this individual, but if it was the latter, then it's totally inappropriate. This is a show where you can call about what you want, but the intention there is that you call about things that are issues or your opinion on something that's sort of out there that people can relate to. It's not your personal forum. It's not your personal forum to make threats over the internet.
I do have issues because last week you and Dale made fun of me.
All right.
All I want
Goodbye,
is
Dave. You've called about that multiple times now, demanding an apology from Daryl and I, and it's been made clear that you're not going to get one. And we'll just stop taking your calls, okay, if you're going to keep calling about the same thing. Because I told you off the air, I had the board operator explain to you that you're not to continue calling about the same thing night after night. You didn't call initially about the same thing. You had some sort of complaint about somebody else that you've been arguing with on the internet. And then you went right back into your same old complaint. So you can consider yourself done. First person to ever be banned from Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. You can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. But please, this is not your personal forum to make threats online or over the air towards other people. Not what this show's about. It's Free Talk Live.
I want to share something important that will not only improve your life, but the lives of many others as well. And all you need to do is drink coffee. I'm not talking about harmful store-bought or chain coffee. No, this is truly the best of the best coffee. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer BuzzBox. With every purchase, 10% goes towards our efforts to give the gift of human freedom by providing at least 100 microfinance loans via World Vision. So literally, just one cup at a time, you're having an impact and helping helping make a difference in the world. And one sip will have you buzzing to family and friends. To prove just how good it is, we're giving a free pound of coffee to everyone in the audience. All you do is cover shipping. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com. BuzzBox coffee is organic, so it contains no pesticides or toxins. It's shade-grown, so less acidity and no heartburn. It's top 1% Arabica grade and gives people the opportunity to own their own coffee farms. Join us in making a huge impact at coffee.freetalklive.com.
You've been lied to by corrupt Washington politicians and the Wall Street propaganda machine. My name is Brett Kitchen, and I want to give you a free copy of my Inc. magazine best-selling book, Safe Money Millionaire, because Wall Street's 401k and other investment plans have failed millions of Americans. After losing 35% in my IRA in the crash several years ago, I said enough. Since then, I've discovered an IRS-approved way to safely grow my money up to 12 to even 17%, cut taxes dramatically, but also have my money protected when the next crash comes. Call now to talk with a specialist to discover this little-known strategy to potentially build $1 million tax-free retirement income. Get potential 12 to 17% returns and never lose when the next crash hits. Call 888-885-8820 and discover this tool that people like Walt Disney and J.C. Penney used to safely grow rich. Plus, get one of just 97 free books left. We even cover shipping and handling. Call 888-885-8820. 888-885-8820. Again, that's 888-885-8820.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
Immigrating to the Shire was easy. I was instantly plugged into a community of individuals who also care about peace, liberty, and justice, and are willing to do something about it.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more.
It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm. Free.
This is Free Talk Live, and of course, you can bring up whatever you want toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. You can Skype into the show at username lrn.fm. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Daryl.
Daryl's got a website, actually a couple of them, as a matter of fact, fpp.cc. That's more of the written side of Daryl, and then fppradio.com is the audio side of Daryl. What things will people find on those sites, Daryl?
Well, as you said, fpp.cc is more the written side. That's where they will find the newspaper, the books that I have published, some of which I have written, others that others have written, and even more books that are there's at least one book that is I'm forgetting the term. There are a bunch of people that have contributed. anthology is the word I'm looking for. At least one book that is an anthology. You can find the books there at fpp.cc, and I actually now have a standalone website for fppradio.com.
Uh-huh. Meaning that it's no longer just a page on
right.
fpp.cc.
It was previously just a page on fpp.cc, and I am now getting the standalone site set up,
where you feature multiple podcasts that you produce on a weekly basis, as well as a live show of your own, Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Plus a daily newscast.
That's right. And that's been going strong now for a few weeks, right?
40 days.
Excellent.
Today was the 40th daily 5-minute newscast.
Very dedicated, probably one of the most dedicated people in the Liberty podcasting universe. So fppradio.com for more of Daryl in audio form. And, of course, we'll take your calls. Let's go straight to the phones and the fun. Actually, in this case, straight to the Skype, where Howard is on the line, listening in Philly. Go ahead, Howard. Do we have Howard in Philly? Howard going once. Howard going twice. You know what? It could be the sound card. Sometimes my sound card totally craps out, and every now and then it'll be my fault. We'll diagnose the problem here as we approach the news at the top of the hour. So hopefully Howard will be patient, and we will try him back here in just a moment. Our toll-free number again, 855-450-FREE. Still to come tonight, the Uber story. Uber is a ride-sharing facilitation service, also a service that will facilitate you with a ride for hire as well. People can basically sign up with this company, and they can become sort of drivers for Uber. They're not actually working for Uber. They're just working.
They are
with
independent
Uber.
contractors.
Right. They're working with Uber to help people who want rides get rides without actually being a taxi company, without being hopefully subject to the same taxi regulations, which of course is really upsetting certain taxi companies and the people in the government who are the buddies of the taxi companies. We'll talk about the Houston situation that's been developing recently there. But first, Jason is in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Jason, you're on Free Talk Live.
Howdy, gentlemen.
Hey, welcome. You're on the air.
Yeah, I caught some of your reading of about the Tesla CEO or founder talking about how New Jersey's trying to shut down his model of selling his vehicles, and I just want to say that it's a shame. If in a truly free society, I would tend to think that anyone could sell their wares any way they wanted to, and if they failed to deliver what their customers wanted, in the end, their customers would walk, and they would suffer the consequences and therefore have to change or just simply go out of business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And why shouldn't a company be able to just sell directly to their consumers, cutting out the middleman? Of course, that's really the issue here, is the middlemen don't want to be cut out.
Yeah, it's always the folks that have the power want to keep it, and that's just absolutely prevalent. And of course, along the topic of cars and consumer freedom, I've exercised mine by noticing that a majority of cars on the road, with the exception of I think all the German brands, lack the probably about $150 worth of extra cost to extend the life of the body about another 8 years in climates like northwestern Pennsylvania, at least. And so my response to that was to walk away from those brands that don't bother to do that.
I'm confused on what what is it that you're talking about that they're missing?
Well, it's pretty simple. All the German cars, if you look at their rust-through warranties, 12 years, and if you look at them on the road, the older cars don't have rust holes through them. Meanwhile, it seems like everything else does when they get about that old around here. And what the Germans are doing differently, one of the major steps is they simply spray a little bit of wax oil emulsion on the insides of the cavities of the cars before the car is finally assembled. And I have an older Mercedes I've been working on recently, and it has that. It's a 1990 model, and no holes rusted through it, and the wax is definitely present.
Wow.
I've been some body work.
So how long
body
have they been offering
assembly.
this wax spraying feature?
Since well, I think Mercedes probably brought it in about probably in 1985. Volkswagen.
And you're saying the competitors in the American and Japanese car markets have not emulated this?
No, not at all. And look at how they stand behind their products. That's where the consumer freedom comes in here too. 5-year rust-through warranties are common until you look at Volkswagen, 12-year rust-through warranty, Mercedes. I don't work for a car dealer, by the way. I am a car guy, and I believe though that when you see somebody doing something right, and they have a higher set of values, like basically building a product that's actually going to hold up and not rob the consumer later on down the road by rusting through, which happens a lot. I've been seeing a lot of cars around here, especially after the economy got kind of bad. People were forced to actually hang on to their cars longer, and next thing you know, you see cars where you could just walk up to them and grab a hold of some metal and start pulling and just pull half the car apart. You know what I mean? It's because there was no. Basically, it was basically the consumers were robbed when the company that built the car didn't put the extra. Probably, I mean, I bet you could have a guy apply this wax to a car in 6 minutes. I'm willing to bet you anything. It takes 6 minutes to spray that on. So, but
you mean like on the
as a
line, or
consumer,
6 minutes? Would that be 6 minutes on the assembly line, or 6 minutes any old time?
Assembly line, yeah. It would take much longer to retrofit a car like that.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, the body's disassembled. Somebody walks up to the spray gun, starts spraying all the predetermined areas, and you've just extended the life of the car another 7 or 8 years.
Awesome.
And the consumer is better served, and the problem is the consumer has to be wise enough to know this.
Well, good. You've just informed a whole bunch of them. And Jason, thank you for sharing that thought tonight here on Free Talk Live. I certainly appreciate the expertise.
So I had a thought.
Yes.
And before I get to the thought, somebody sent me a message on the Facebooks saying that there already is a prescription nicotine inhaler.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so I asked them for more info on it. So I thought that was
You're a
really
visionary,
interesting.
Daryl. It's too bad you didn't have the idea first.
So I had this thought, how many other businesses or industries allow you to buy straight from the manufacturer?
I mean, there are some of them, not that many.
But for the most part, you're going through a middleman.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
not going directly to Samsung to purchase a video camera.
Typically
You're
not.
going through a middleman.
Yeah, they've got licensed dealers that have been approved to sell their products.
The only computer company that I can think of, there's actually two, where you actually generally buy directly from them, Dell and Gateway, assuming that Gateway is still around.
I think most of the computer companies out there are selling direct to consumer. I mean, I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, maybe you're right.
Most people are going through, they might go
Staples
to the
or
Apple
whatever.
store to get their iPad or whatever.
Well, that would be direct to consumer. It's Apple-owned stores.
Right.
I think you would see computer companies selling more frequently to consumers than other industries.
Right,
But that's because they're newer, right?
For the most part, Walmart doesn't produce anything. They're a middleman for hundreds of businesses.
That's true. And they do a good job at that. 855-450-FREE. That's the Pro XPN toll-free line. Because in a lot of cases, the products at Walmart, it wouldn't make sense for them to sell direct to consumer. It would be difficult to facilitate sales of toothpaste.
I want to buy a case of cereal.
More on the way here. Hour 3's next.
Quantum vibe. It's year 2523. There are colonies on Venus, Mars, and Mercury. People travel in bubbles, fly at hyperspeed, with brain implants and artificial gravity. A scientific genius and his clever assistant set out on an adventure through the solar system on a secret mission to find the key to access new frontiers and save liberty. QuantumVibe.com from Big Head Press.
Here's something you don't hear on the radio every day. Someone who can't see. I am totally blind, and I go through periods where I'm unable to sleep at night and feel like I'm constantly running but can never quite catch up. But this isn't a sleep problem. It's something called non-24. Learn about the link between total blindness and your symptoms. Visit learnmorenon24.com or call 855-856-2424.
Sponsored by Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
In every age, a technology is created that upends the foundations of society. The wheel, the printing press, the internet. Now, in a world sliding into financial chaos, a new technology is changing the way monetary systems work around the world. It is called Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a new form of money controlled not by banks, governments, or corporations, but through mutual commerce between free individuals. To learn more, visit weusecoins.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Radio VR.
Good morning and welcome to Radio VR. We're broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. and around the world on voiceofrussia.com/US. I'm Kate Zickel.
And I'm Rick Young. Today is Friday, March 14th, 2014.
Radio VR News.
Is the U.S. deporting too many people? Under heavy pressure from Hispanic groups, President Obama has ordered a fresh review of deportation practices. White House correspondent Mark Smith reports.
The president told members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus he understands the pain of families separated by deportation and again faulted a broken immigration system. But this time he said he's asked Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson to look at current practices and see if something can be done to make enforcement more humane. Obama's been under heavy pressure from Latino allies to curb deportations that have accelerated, even as efforts in Congress to overhaul the system have stalled. But before now, he's argued the law gives him no choice, and only Congress can stop the tearing of families apart. Mark Smith, Washington.
The Flight 370 mystery continues. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports the estimate that the missing jet was still flying for 4 hours after it was reported missing has led to a wider search area being explored.
The Boeing 777 had left Kuala Lumpur and was about 2 hours into the trip to Beijing when radar contact was lost. The plane was initially thought to have gone down over the South China Sea, but now the search is being widened. According to defense officials, a destroyer, the USS Kidd, is heading to the Indian Ocean, and a U.S. surveillance plane will scour the Strait of Malacca, while another searches over Malaysia.
The top U.S. military commander for Latin America says a lot of drugs are flowing out of the region into the U.S. There's not much he can do about it. National Security Correspondent Sagar Meghani has the details.
With the 3 American ships he has now, General John Kelly figures he's able to get about 20% of the drugs leaving Colombia for the U.S. The rest get through, and without more ships and surveillance capabilities,
much larger amounts of drugs will flow up from Latin America.
Kelly, who heads the U.S. Southern Command, says he could intercept a lot more drugs if he had 16 ships.
Something that floats with a helicopter.
But Kelly says he's also realistic, saying budget cuts have slimmed everybody's resources, and Southern Command is often the last priority. Sagar Meghani at the Pentagon.
The Obama administration is proposing new rules designed to protect students at for-profit colleges from amassing huge debt they can't pay off and still pass judicial muster. Correspondent Ross Simpson explains.
The proposed regulations would penalize programs that produce graduates without the training needed to find a job with a salary that allows them to pay off their debt. Schools, for-profit or not, that don't comply would lose access to federal student aid programs. If finalized, the regulations would take effect in 2016. The for-profit college lobby is expected to vigorously oppose the proposals. In 2012, they convinced a judge that similar regulations were too arbitrary. Ross Simpson, Washington.
The International Monetary Fund is backing efforts to reduce differences in incomes around the world. The reason? The IMF says the wealth gap could lead to political and economic instability. Correspondent Diane Kepley has more.
The Global Financial Institution is recommending a number of steps to help reduce or eliminate income inequality around the world.
It's a relevant issue for most countries.
IMF spokesman Jerry Rice.
Inequality is not conducive to sustainable growth.
The IMF says it favors an expansion of income taxes to reduce a reliance on sales taxes. It also recommends a reduction in tax breaks for the wealthy. Such proposals have typically encountered stiff opposition from policymakers. Diane Kepley, Washington.
House Speaker John Boehner has invited Pope Francis to address a joint session of Congress. Religion editor Steve Coleman has the details.
Boehner says the Pope has inspired millions with his call for protection of the ailing, the impoverished, and the unborn. Vatican sources have said Francis might visit the U.S. in September 2015 when the Church's World Meeting of Families will be held in Philadelphia. That timing could also allow the Pope to address the United Nations in New York. Boehner says he's offering the Pope an open invitation to put Washington on his itinerary. Pope Benedict visited Washington and New York in 2008. Steve Coleman, Washington.
And that's the news for Radio VR in Washington. I'm Kate Zickel.
And I'm Rick Young.
In Baltimore, the streets have gotten safer thanks to the success of the new Permanent Daylight Initiative, which aims to prevent crime by illuminating the entire city 24 hours a day using high-powered floodlights.
It's just that it's so bright all the time, even in the rain.
City officials say there have been zero violent crimes since the start of the program, except for one man who vandalized the light by throwing his body off a building into it. Now let's set our crosshairs on to Mountain View, California, where Gmail servers were down for nearly 2 hours today. In an online statement, the company said, "Tremble before Google. With the mere flip of a switch, we can bring you to your knees." After reestablishing service this afternoon, Google changed its logo and released a statement saying, if not appeased with a 20% increase in Google Chrome downloads by the next vernal equinox, they will take back their generous gift unto mankind of colored conversation labeling. All right, you can take off your helmet. You have survived the News Blitz.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves. Just dial toll-free to 855-450-FREE. We've got Skype as well. You can Skype into the show at username LRN.FM. Coming up here, Daryl will be telling us about the latest in the difficulties that company Uber has been experiencing in various different marketplaces around the country. And actually, I guess they're an international company. Helps connect people who need a ride with people who are willing to give rides without actually hooking you up with taxi companies or taxi drivers. It's a way for people to save money on getting from point A to point B. And there's some pretty disturbing stuff happening in the city of Houston surrounding this particular company. We'll share that with you. Also, you can take control of the airwaves here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. And again, our Skype username, LRN.FM. I was actually in Austin, Texas last week. Actually, at this time last week, we were leaving. We were already gone from Austin, but it was the big Texas Bitcoin Conference. And when we showed up, we realized that we really hadn't figured out how we were going to get around. Mark had thought there was going to be some sort of hotel shuttle, and I knew that the hotel was way too far away to have a hotel shuttle. So it turned out that wasn't the case.
Where did you guys fly into?
Austin Bergstrom or something like that. I forget the name of the airport. Whatever.
I didn't know that Austin had its own airport.
It's a big city. Yeah, they definitely have their own airport. So anyway, we flew into the main Austin airport, and there was no real obvious solution for how to get from the airport to the hotel, which was a good 20 minutes away. So we didn't have a ride scheduled or anything like that, and it was either rent a car. But I actually put it out on Facebook. Hey, what should we do? You know, what's the best way to get around here? And somebody said, try Uber. And I had heard of Uber before. We talked about these ride-sharing services, these rides for hire services that you download an app, you install it on your smartphone, I guess configure it a little bit, and then the phone, I did get the app, the Uber app, and I installed it. And the phone will ask you what your location is. Probably it will try to GPS it. But anyway, it tries to zero in on your location and says, so do you need a ride? And you tell it that you do. And then what it'll do is it'll find people who are in the area who are willing to give you a ride. People who have essentially agreed in advance to a certain set of rules that Uber has in order to be drivers for they're not working for Uber, they're independent contractors, but they're still kind of branded, with the Uber branding. So there's a certain set of specifications, a certain set of rules that you have to follow in order to qualify as a driver. But presuming there are drivers who are on in that moment, who are willing, who are in the area and are convenient, they'll come and get you. And the person who posted on my Facebook said this is a great way to get around and that it's even cheaper than cabs, the Uber thing.
Interesting.
Fortunately, I was never able to get past the select your location portion of the Uber app because when I selected Austin as my location, an error message came up on the program saying that due to antiquated protectionist regulations, Uber is not currently operating in Austin. They're trying to change that through, of course, the legislative process, which means that they probably won't be operating in Austin in the near foreseeable future. So I was kind of bummed out. I was really hoping that I would be able to try this Uber thing because it's more of like a city thing. Uber doesn't operate in Keene, New Hampshire, for instance. And so I'm not sure what qualifications Uber decides makes them, makes them work in one city versus a smaller city, not so much.
Definitely more than a population of 25,000.
I guess so. But so I was bummed out. I didn't get a chance to use Uber because some government bums in Austin have basically banned them as a competition to the taxi companies. And that's essentially what's going on here in Houston, where, as I understand it, now, Daryl, you've got the story, Houston has been trying to prohibit Uber from operating and has, I guess, successfully done so. But Uber has been asking people to reach out to the politicians and let them know how they feel.
Yes. And not just to let them know how they feel, but to also request that the ordinances be changed.
Right. Yeah, to lobby the politicians.
To allow them to operate in Houston.
To update their ordinances, which probably haven't been updated in decades since they, originally created the cabbie cartel or whatever they're called there in Houston. Like in New York City, I think to get a cab medallion, it's like $600,000.
Several $100,000. But in New York City, there are a lot of what they call jitney cabs.
Yes, illegal cabs.
To where people that live in the not-so-nice neighborhoods that have difficult times getting legitimate cabs, or I guess legitimate isn't the word that I want to use there, the licensed cabs, they will, contract with a neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And there's sort of
a better deal.
An unwritten rule, and for the most part, an unspoken rule in New York City that as long as the unlicensed cabs stay out of downtown Manhattan, then there's no problem.
Oh, interesting.
But once you come into our turf, that's when we have a problem. I'm not sure how Houston operates on this, but apparently there's been a problem with Houston for a while, and I gather that from the way this article from Tech Dirt begins that says, we've covered for a while now how Uber, the mobile phone enabling car and taxi ordering service, has run up against a bunch of obsolete laws in various cities, often leading to bizarre rebuttals from municipal officials. Uber quickly realized that each ridiculous response from a city government was something of a marketing opportunity to introduce itself to new cities. You would think by now city officials would learn that the proper thing to do is to figure out how to work with Uber to provide better transportation.
No way. That's not what they care about. See, somebody who writes like this, they don't really understand the real purpose behind automobile regulations and businesses, regulations.
They do if you let me finish the sentence.
Okay. A lot of people don't,
right?
Who write mainstream media articles. But yeah, you're right. Tech Dirt does tend to have kind of a libertarian twinge to it.
You would think that officials would learn that the proper thing to do is to figure out how to work with Uber to provide better transportation for their citizenry, rather than immediately bowing to demands from the taxi and limo companies who fear potential competition.
Yeah, well, that's all that regulations are really about, is protecting the established businesses, the good old boy network, from upstarts, from innovators, from competitors, from people that want to enter the marketplace and bring new, fresh ideas into the fray. They are scared to death of that. Look, this is the way business has always been done here in Houston, and this is the way business always will be done as long as we're in charge. That's the way it goes everywhere.
And one thing that's interesting about Houston has no zoning.
That's true, although some of the suburbs apparently do, from what I understand.
Right, but the suburbs are not part of the city of Houston.
Okay.
The article here continues. It says, however, the response from Houston may be the most bizarre of all. Uber had set up a petition for Houston residents, emailing city officials of their support for allowing Uber in the city.
That should be their right. I mean, that's the idea, right? If you don't like the way the system is, you're supposed to contact your representatives, city councilors, and let them know.
In response to this, the city of Houston issued a cease and desist order, effectively telling Uber to stop asking Houston residents to contact their own elected government about this issue.
Wow.
And I have the letter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Robert, please consider this a formal demand that your client, Uber, cease and desist from transmitting or aiding in the transmission of form emails to city officials regarding the adoption of an ordinance to accommodate their enterprise. Despite my informal request to you by telephone on Monday, the excessive number of emails has gone unabated to the point that it has become harassing in nature and arguably unlawful.
Poor babies. They don't like it when people actually use the system, when people actually get active, and we'll share the remainder of this here in moments. You can take control as well. It's Free Talk Live.
I want to share something important that will not only improve your life, but the lives of many others as well. And all you need to do is drink coffee. I'm not talking about harmful store-bought or chain coffee. No, this is truly the best of the best coffee. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer BuzzBox. With every purchase, 10% goes towards our efforts to give the gift of human freedom by providing at least 100 microfinance loans via World Vision. So literally, just one cup at a time, you're having an impact and helping make a difference in the world. And one sip will have you buzzing to family and friends. To prove just how good it is, we're giving a free pound of coffee to everyone in the audience. All you do is cover shipping. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com. BuzzBox coffee is organic, so it contains no pesticides or toxins. It's shade-grown, so less acidity and no heartburn. It's top 1% Arabica grade and gives people the opportunity to own their own coffee farms. Join us in making a huge impact at coffee.freetalklive.com.
Gold isn't for you? Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources, one of the world's premier gold and precious metal investing firms. I get it. You wouldn't buy gold if you believed that the government is doing a great job, that the Fed will stop handing out trillions of dollars like bailout candy, that Social Security would be there for you. That's not what's happening. You might even pass on gold if the stimulus package wouldn't fuel inflation, or that the dollar wouldn't lose value, or that your retirement would be secure. If all looks rosy to you, then now is not the time to buy gold. For the realist, there have never been more sobering reasons to diversify with gold. Since 2001, the U.S. dollar index has tanked 30% while gold has risen 300%. Right now, savvy investors are adding gold to their portfolios. You should too. Find out what they know. Call us and I'll send you 10 reasons why gold will do very well, free. 800-686-2237. 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa, hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today. This is.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me.
What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and of course you can bring up whatever you want here, toll free at 855-450-FREE. Maybe you've used some of these ride-sharing or rides-for-hire services that, like Uber. I know they're not the only one. There are others out there. I just don't recall what they are at the moment. But maybe you've...
I think Zimride is one of the websites. I know that's one... I think it's Zimride or Zipride. It's one of the websites
I know there's Zipcar. I've heard of Zipcar.
That PorcFest organizers have suggested people use in the past for finding ride shares to PorcFest over the summers.
Well, what I was wondering, and I actually just asked this question on our Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, is are there any companies out there that are kind of like Uber in that they hook people up with drivers, passengers with drivers, people that need to go somewhere with people who are willing to go there, without them being taxi cabs and like all this kind of business the humongous business, I guess, accoutrements that you would find with like a big taxi company or something like that. What else is there out there? And are there companies who are still operating in places like Houston or Austin where there are really restrictive taxi cab regulations and they're trying to keep these companies out of the marketplace?
I know there's a rideshare section on Craigslist. And I believe the website Couchsurfing also has a rideshare section.
Because I feel like the Uber, it's a cool idea, but they're still too centralized. And so obviously the Uber can be targeted by these governments and threatened. In this case, Uber is being threatened by the city of Houston. Uber has been helping people, facilitating them, giving them the information they need and the kind of the forms that they need to fill out to send emails to the city councilors there in Houston to have them update their just outdated regulations that basically exist to protect the existing cab companies from competition. We'll continue with that story here in moments. Speaking of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, Daryl, it is coming up in about 3 months. It's not long away now. End of June. We're already at mid-March. It's gonna be,
yes.
It's going to be here before you know it. The Porcupine Freedom Festival is a blast. It's a huge camping festival in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Over 1,500 liberty-minded people were in attendance last year. People come from all across the country and indeed across the world to be in New Hampshire and to experience what it's like to be with other people that actually care about freedom for a week of camping and fun and karaoke, parties, dances, kids' activities, family stuff. there's something for everyone at PorcFest, and you can go to porcfest.com, PORCFEST.com, to get yourself booked, and your family and your friends or whoever it is you're going up there with. Try to bring some people with you, because, I mean, even if you're going to be coming up as a single person, you're going to have a good time at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. But bring your friends if you can. PorcFest.com. We will look forward to seeing you there. I'm expecting that we'll be broadcasting Free Talk Live from the event this year, as well as we have done for the last 8 years. So go to porcfest.com, PORCFEST.com. Grab your tickets now. So we're talking about the ride-sharing company Uber, and they are under attack in Houston. They had used their website to facilitate people going and writing letters to the city councilors, and there have been so many that have been written that the city council there, in the form of their city attorney, has now issued a notice of cease and desist. And you were reading that notice to us, and I believe, did you get all the way through it, Daryl? Because it's fairly short.
Close to all the way through. So I actually
Uber claims, by the way, before you go on, Uber claims on their blog at blog.uber.com that in 3 days, now this blog post was written on February 27th, so we don't know how many have been written since then, but in 3 days, nearly 10,000 Houston residents and visitors have signed a petition demanding that Mayor Parker and the city council make way for modern transportation options like Uber. So there's been a tremendous outpouring of support for this company, and the response from the city is, shut up. We don't want to hear from you, or else.
Despite, and this is about halfway through, despite my informal request to you by telephone on Monday, the excessive number of emails has gone unabated, to the point that it has become harassing in nature and arguably unlawful. Failure to cease and desist will be met with appropriate action by the city. David M. Feldman, City Attorney, City of Houston.
That sounds like a threat to me, Daryl.
So the point that I made when I covered this story on my show, Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, on Sunday, is that what the city attorney in Houston is actually saying is that if you contact your representatives and you ask your friends to contact your representatives, that is illegal.
That's what they're saying. That's the suggestion in the letter. I don't believe for a moment that it actually, in point of fact, is illegal.
Claims that it is harassing and is arguably unlawful.
He's saying he will argue that it is unlawful, just in the same way that the city of Keene attorneys have argued that it is unlawful for the Robin Hooders here in town, who have been saving people from getting parking tickets for over the last year here in Keene, New Hampshire, saved thousands of people. They argued also that it was unlawful what we were doing. They called it harassment. And if you go and you look up criminal harassment,
civil conspiracy.
That's right. They did add that later on. If you go and you look up what criminal harassment is, basically, Daryl, if I'm saying something to you that you don't like and you tell me, Ian, I don't want you to ever talk to me again, and I continue to say things to you that you don't want to hear, that's criminal harassment. That's kind of the definition of criminal harassment. There's an exception, however, to this, which is that when you're talking with government bureaucrats, they cannot not listen to you. Well, I mean, they cannot listen, but they cannot tell you to stop talking to you or to them. You are under no obligation to discontinue talking to a government bureaucrat if they ask you to, because they supposedly work for the public. They have to at least put on this demeanor of being public so-called servants, and part of that is they have to take some crap sometimes.
Right.
Now, that's not to say that the Robin Hooders are actually being threatening or anything like that, as it has been suggested that they are, but my point being that, the city attorney in Houston can argue that it's illegal, but I can't imagine any judge would actually find that individuals contacting the city councilors or the regulators there, that any of those contacts would in any way be illegal, or that Uber would somehow be in violation of some sort of law for facilitating people contacting their city councilors. And apparently Uber agrees, according to their blog post. They're saying they will not cease or desist. They are going to continue in spite of this threatening letter from the attorney in the city. And now it's been 2.5 weeks since they put this blog post up. I don't know if there have been any updates. They certainly haven't updated their blog on this. But, it'd be interesting to find out if the city is going to make a move here, because Uber's not backing down. And that's what I like. I like to see that.
Yeah. And for any of the listeners, I have actually shared all of the emails for the city councilors at the city of Houston.
On our Facebook?
On the Facebook, the Twitter, and the Google+.
Now, if there's a chance you're ever going to visit Houston, whether it's business or pleasure, if there's a chance you will ever visit Houston, then I think you are in the right as far as contacting those city councilors. So it doesn't matter if you've never been there before. More coming up. You can take control here on Free Talk Live.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now, thanks to Dan Pilla, you can get the tax help you need to end your tax nightmare.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce or eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. With the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
The easiest thing in the world for a reader to do is to stop reading, according to the late, great Barney Kilgore, who became managing editor of the Wall Street Journal in 1941 and grew the paper's circulation from 33,000 to 1 million by the 60s. And he'd be pleased to know that his paper is one of the few that people now pay to read online. Someone else pre-internet who realized that attention is fragile? Motown Records founder Berry Gordy. In the early 60s, when his label dominated the charts, he'd bring a dozen real people into the Hitsville, USA studios and audition songs. And he'd ask, if you were down to your last dollar, would you spend it on this record or would you buy a sandwich? Today, attention span seems like an oxymoron. For tips on cutting through the clutter, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Are you looking for camping, hunting, survival, or shooting gear? ManVentureOutpost.com carries the name brands you want at the lowest prices. Ammunition, knives, firearm accessories, archery, air guns, scopes, binoculars, laser sights, tactical flashlights, fish finders, and boating equipment. ManVentureOutpost.com is family-owned and has the lowest prices. Go check it for yourself. Get it quick. Get it from ManVentureOutpost.com.
Now buy firearms at ManVentureOutpost.com. Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
The Supreme Court has ruled over and over again that government has no obligation to provide any services, even services as remedial as protection. They don't have any obligation to provide those services. So therefore, if there is no obligation on their part to provide any services, why should there be an obligation on our part to pay them?
Well, there isn't. It's only an obligation of they, implement this thing, and then you're afraid because they have guns.
People are scared.
But it's never going to end until we get over that fear.
Absolutely. I mean, we're essentially being terrorized by a group of gangsters calling themselves the U.S. federal government. The only difference between the federal government and a thug on the street is the size of the gang. It's time people start treating the IRS like the thugs they are.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Free Talk Live. Bring up whatever you want right here, toll free, 855-450-FREE. We've also got Skype. You can Skype into the show at username LRN.FM, so feel free to connect with us in that way if you prefer. In fact, I prefer it. If you've got the choice, go ahead and go with Skype. It almost always sounds better. You can also find us online. Just go to freetalklive.com. We've got listening options there. Live streams. Got broadband, midband, and narrowband versions of the show. They're available to you around the clock. The latest episode of Free Talk Live is always on the air on our streams at listen.freetalklive.com. Plus, you can tune into us on over 140 radio stations from coast to coast. Great stations, actually coast to coast and beyond. Get the full list over at listen.freetalklive.com. Plus, our satellite listening choices include free-to-air satellite radio, which allows you to actually tune in if you're anywhere in North and Central America, as long as you have a view of the southern sky and a relatively small dish. Like, it's not as small as like a DirecTV dish. Those are I think 18-inch dishes. These you have to get around a 30-inch dish, so it's not as humongous as those old C-band dishes are. But very affordable stuff. You can get the equipment for about a couple $100, get it installed, point it at the right satellite, and then you can listen to Free Talk Live and all the other great LRN.FM shows, including Daryl's show, Peace, Love, Liberty Radio on LRN.FM via streaming satellite technology. And it's zero cost per month. That's why it's called free to air. Webcam, you can watch and listen to us online. You can also listen via your phone. Any phone that can dial long distance can get tuned in to Free Talk Live via our listen lines. So go to listen.freetalklive.com to learn more about getting tuned into the show. That's listen.freetalklive.com. And if you want to get a free pound of the best coffee you probably ever tasted, check out BuzzBox at coffee.freetalklive.com. BuzzBox coffee is shade-grown, 100% organic, and top 1% grade Arabica. The organic certification is that much more important when it comes to coffee because it's a very absorbent crop. So you want to make sure that you're not getting things like, lead or something like that being absorbed by your crop. BuzzBox is competitively priced with other high-end coffees, but they do something special that other coffee producers just aren't doing. They have set up a program that allows people around the world to buy into their coffee co-op at BuzzBox. Now, Free Talk Live, here on the show, we're trying to recruit 1,000 coffee-loving listeners like you, perhaps, to order their coffee or your coffee from coffee.freetalklive.com, which would allow us in BuzzBox to finance 100 microloans through World Vision and help change lives by offering people in poverty an opportunity to change their own lives. You can get started now by getting a free pound of coffee at coffee.freetalklive.com. All you have to do is pay the shipping cost, and, of course, you can cancel your subscription at any time. Coffee.freetalklive.com. Let's go to the phones and to you and your thoughts. In fact, this case, it's Skype, where Nathan is on the line in Texas. Go ahead, Nathan.
Good evening.
Hey there.
So I wanted to disagree with you a little bit on the Uber story because my understanding was that they were getting people from outside the city to call, and even outside the state to call in and email bomb these people.
They should, because anybody could travel to Houston someday, and shouldn't people be able to choose from different ride-sharing services rather than just, all the taxi companies that have been there forever?
It's true anyone could, fly to Houston or travel to Houston, but to me, I don't see that necessarily justifies it. I mean, like if I was running a store and people had some petition they wanted to give to me, I mean, that would be fine. But if they're, getting people in New York or Canada to call my phone 24 hours a day, then I wouldn't think that would be
but you're not running a store. We're not talking about people running a store. We're talking about government bureaucrats whose job it is ostensibly to listen to the people and hear what they have to say. And a government bureaucrat should be concerned about tourism. That, supposedly part of the things that government does, now I don't necessarily think they should be doing this, but in a lot of cases, government spends money advertising their area to bring tourists in or to bring businesses in. And so, yeah, they absolutely should be concerned when a business owner, or not a business owner, but when somebody from the business community or even just somebody who's going to go visit their grandmother calls up and says, hey, I was going to travel to Houston this summer to go and do X, Y, or Z, but now I'm not going to go to Houston because your rides, your taxi cab regulations are outdated, and I want to use Uber in town, and screw you, I'm not coming to your city. That's a completely legitimate use of a phone call to a government bureaucrat if you don't live in the city.
I guess I could kind of see that, but and then it's kind of an intangible thing, right? Like, am I going to go to Houston today? Am I going to go there next month? It just, I mean, I agree that Uber should be able to run their service, but I don't necessarily see that, that the bureaucrats should listen. I mean, based on their own statements, they really don't have an obligation to people who aren't their constituents.
Is it illegal for someone, or should it be illegal for someone to contact an elected representative that lives outside of the jurisdiction in which someone lives?
Well, I don't think so, but it seems a little rude, to be honest.
Well, wait a minute. Nathan, while I understand kind of where you're coming from here, in that, sure, a politician would probably value someone's opinion higher if they were located permanently in the area, but how do you define a constituent? Is somebody who, okay, so I guess you would definitely agree that someone who lives in the geographic designation known as Houston as a constituent, right? We would both agree on that,
yeah.
Right? Okay, so how do you further define? What about the towns outside of Houston? What about, the suburbs, the bedroom communities that are outside? I don't know, happen to know what they are. Daryl, you used to live in Texas. Do you know anything outside of Houston?
The only thing outside of Houston that I know for sure is the Woodlands, and I think that's actually a decent way outside of Houston.
But let's just, I don't have the map in front of me. I'm trying to pull it up here on the Google. But let's just presume I'm looking. Okay,
Galveston isn't too terribly
Baytown.
far.
There's a Beaumont. Beaumont is just to the east of Houston there. So what about the people in Beaumont? A lot of them might regularly visit Houston to see family and friends, maybe do some business. Are those constituents?
Well, I'm not really a lawyer. I guess
I'm just asking for your opinion.
If you get to vote for them, I guess. I mean, that's the way their system is set up, right? You elect these representatives, and then they administer the government.
Well, the people in Beaumont aren't
area.
electing the Houston City Council. So are you saying that all the people who live just outside of the border of Houston should have no say in how things are run in Houston?
Well, no, I'm just saying that by their own system, they're only really responsible to the constituents that vote for them. So
no, that's not true.
Outside of that area,
that's not true. As a politician, they need to be concerned about the people who are coming into Houston to do business there, because if they aren't concerned about that, then they could lose that business, and that could hurt them politically.
And to say that they should only be responsive to the people that vote for them leaves out the majority of people that live in the area, because for one, the majority of people don't vote, and secondly, it's only a plurality of people that do vote that actually elect anyone. In San Antonio, the last time there was a mayoral election, when I was living in San Antonio, there was, I believe, a 9% or 7% turnout. The incumbent mayor was elected with like 80% of that, which meant that it was only 5.5% or 6% of people in San Antonio that actually voted for this guy. So is he only supposed to be responsive to the 5.5% or 6% of people that voted for him, or is he to be responsive to 100% of the population, including those who can't yet vote?
Right. What about teenagers?
Or who have had their voting privileges removed from them?
Right. Should teenagers not be allowed to speak at a city council meeting in Houston because they're not old enough to vote if they're 16 or 17?
Well, isn't their line that if you don't vote, then you should just shut up and not say anything or something like that? I mean, I guess
there's a line like that, but that doesn't mean that people should shut up who don't vote. I mean, their opinions should still be valid. Now, look, we understand that politicians don't care what anybody thinks except the people that line their pockets, but they have to appear as though they do. That's why they allow people to speak at things like city council meetings, and even here in Keene, New Hampshire, they'll allow somebody from outside of Keene to speak at a city council meeting because they work in Keene, or they have family in Keene, or they shop in Keene. And those are all valid reasons to have an opinion about what goes on here. Nathan, thanks for your call tonight, man. 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
The following is an important free offer for smokers only. The makers of Victor, the world's most advanced e-cigarette, have just authorized the release of free starter kits to all smokers who call in the next 10 minutes. Valued at $99, these Victor starter kits are available for free, but only while supplies last. To guarantee your free kit, call in the next 10 minutes, 1-800-564-6941. The revolutionary Victor design creates only water vapor. There is no foul-smelling smoke and no unhealthy tar. This allows individuals to enjoy the nicotine they love without restriction, no matter where they are. The financial advantages over cigarettes are considerable as well. It is estimated that the average smoker can save hundreds of dollars a month with Victor. Again, free Victor starter kits are now available to any smoker who calls in the next 10 minutes. This is a radio-only offer not available in stores, so call now for your free kit. 1-800-564-6941. 1-800-564-6941. 1-800-564-6941.
Self-reliance, survival supplies, survival skills, national experts. Get it all at the only free-to-attend national event exclusively for preppers. This spring in Tulsa, it's the National Preppers and Survivalist Expo, a must-be-there event presented by American Living. This massive expo will include special guests, David Mays from Nat Geo's Doomsday Preppers, plus GCN's own Dr. Joel Wallach via live video conference. Hear Dr. Bones, Nurse Amy, and members of the American Pepper Network, along with many other leading national experts. Learn life-saving tips, CPR, how to handle crisis situations, walk through a bomb shelter, and much, much more. 2 big days, April 5th and 6th at the Tulsa Expo Square in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's April 5th and 6th. Doors open at 9 a.m. with absolutely free admission. Don't miss the National Preppers and Survivalists Expo, America's largest emergency preparedness event. Get your free tickets now. NPSExpo.com. That's NPSExpo.com.
We know you're out there. We can feel you now. We know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. We don't know the future. We aren't here to tell you how this is going to end. We're here to tell you how it's going to begin. We're going back to editing the next edition of Freedom's Phoenix digital magazine now, where we are telling the people what you don't want them to know. We're showing them a world without you, a world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries, a world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice we leave to you. Subscribe at freedomsphoenixeasy.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenixeasing.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are 1. Share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. MineThings.com is a fun online game that pits you against people around the world to mine for scarce resources. Do business in a capitalist economy with virtually mined gold, tax-free. It doesn't require a big time commitment. Your little mining robot guy works whether you're logged in or not. It costs nothing to play, but you can buy bonuses. They even accept bitcoins. Go to MineThings.com, use coupon code FTL, and double your mining speed. It's free. MineThings.com.
You can interact with other LRN listeners on our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
Free.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here, toll free at 855-450-FREE. That is the Pro XPN toll-free line, and we've got Skype. You can Skype into the show. Our username is lrn.fm. With you tonight, Ian here.
And Daryl.
Check out Daryl's website, fpp.cc, and his other website, fppradio.com. For more of Daryl in written and audio form. We're going to continue with your calls and thoughts. We've been talking about the cab sharing, ride sharing company Uber. Cab's not the appropriate word because that's kind of a legal term now due to all the government regulations surrounding giving somebody a ride somewhere. I mean, the Uber company has done something great in a lot of cities around the world, dozens of cities actually. They're helping connect people through smartphone technology to people who are willing to give others rides. And there are some restrictions, some rules that the drivers have to follow in order to be affiliated with Uber. And I think that's intended to keep things honest and keep people on the up and up and have a certain level of quality from the cars that people are driving and things like that. Which is cool. I was unfortunately not able to experience Uber when I went to Austin recently because Austin, like Houston, is one of the cities with some very stringent regulations when it comes to operating a cab business. And the existing cab businesses are on the attack in these places using their friends in the government to try to stop what Uber is doing. Uber encouraged their users and encouraged their fans and the people that wanted to try their service to contact the Houston City Council and the Houston Bureaucrats and demand that they change their regulations to make it so that Uber and other companies like them could operate in the city. And as a result, the Houston Bureaucrats decided they were going to threaten Uber with possible legal action and demanded that they stop contacting. They demanded that they stop helping people contact them. And Uber has refused to stop. So they are continuing to encourage people to contact the Houston City Council to do something about that, which I think is heroic. We need more businesses who, in the face of a government threat, will continue to do what they were already doing. I love it when business people stand up for at least the freedom to do their business. Business people aren't very good at standing up for other business people's freedom. I'd like to see that happen more often too. But at least they're standing up for their own business in this particular case. You can share your thoughts here, toll free at 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Howard. He's on the line in Philly on Skype. Hey, Howard.
Hi, Ian and Daryl.
Welcome, sir.
Hey, gentlemen. I had a couple comments. I had to run an errand. I missed like the last hour and a half of the show, but I just wanted to comment of Dave, I know this guy has been a thorn in your asses since he's come around, and it's actually unusual because I thought I was the craziest caller you had, and then this guy makes me look like I'm in kindergarten as far as the crazy goes. Honestly, I'm being humorous, but I've been listening to this show for years, and I mean, you have had your run of the mill of some pretty seriously mentally ill callers, but they were like human beings, and you've talked to them, and it was part of the show, and it added to liberty and all that. So it was all good with Paula and.
Oh, yeah.
It's just been it's countless, it's just countless. But the thing about Dave is that, how do you get through to somebody that doesn't accept reality? That's the thing. And, I was actually thinking, was this is it what I didn't really understand? And I think Mark and Ian and everybody has questioned this. It's is this guy for real?
Oh, yeah. You're talking about Dave in New York, by the way, who was banned from calling Free Talk Live tonight as the first caller.
Is that what happened?
I'm sick of it. I told him earlier this week that he cannot keep calling about the same exact thing every single night. Can you imagine how boring of a talk show that would be?
Tolerant. Yeah, you have, but it's entertaining. Crazy is entertaining.
It is. It is. Crazy is entertaining, and I love a good crazy caller here on Free Talk Live, and we've given Dave plenty of airtime over the last 3 months.
You have.
And you can find all of those videos on his various YouTube channels.
Yeah.
I know. And you guys have been tolerant, and I just wanted to say that it has helped me to see the part of myself that where I was taking my calling into Free Talk Live too far, and I was calling in all the time. And it's nobody wants to hear anybody call in all the time. And it's just You're a talk radio
I mean, if you
guy,
bring something to the table
Exactly.
that's unique and different, we do have some regular callers here on Free Talk Live.
You do, and most are brilliant. I mean, I can remember all the through the years. I don't mean to interrupt you, expand, but yeah, I agree, and it's entertaining. What you do is entertainment, and that's what talk radio is. And you do a very good job, you and Mark. And
Yeah,
your
and
crew.
there's a certain tricky portion to doing a show like Free Talk Live. I mean, all the rules in talk radio say don't do this show. When we started doing Free Talk Live, we were given the rules of talk radio by the general manager at the radio station we worked for at the time, and I listened to the rules as they were delivered, and I made notes about the ones that I liked and ignored all the rest of them because that's just how I am. And so one of the big rules in talk radio is you're supposed to stringently screen phone calls. We don't do that on Free Talk Live. It's one of kind of the fundamental premises of the show is that anyone can call in any night about whatever topic they want to. And that's generally considered to be bad talk radio. And if you allow people to call in like Dave, who are calling about the exact same thing night after night after night, then that gets bad. It gets boring. It gets uninteresting. Nobody wants to listen to the same show, even though it was entertaining the first time Dave called to demand an apology from Daryl and I. That was entertaining once. The second time, no, it was no longer entertaining.
No.
That's when we told him, look, Dave, you can't do this anymore. He did it again. And so goodbye. We've got better things to do. We've got other things to talk about, other people who want to get on the air.
Exactly. You've been more than patient. It's like it's pathological. I mean, I'm sorry for the guy. I hope he can get in chat like months ago, he mentioned like he was taking medication, and I hope that he just like tries to pursue like some help. But that's when things get too far with some people can get so sick mentally, like they don't see their problems. And I was one of the person, like my whole thing, is like, this whole thing is like, I see my own problems in myself, and I stop calling the show. And this Free Talk Live is a valuable asset to Liberty. And I just hope, I just wanted to call in and say that because he is like, I mean, I don't see how you put up with it for so long because, I mean, it's just overwhelming when somebody doesn't like a sick person. Like, at least I see that I have problems, but really a crazy person doesn't know they're crazy. That's the point, and everybody has a chance to get better. So, Dave, man, just, keep taking your meds and, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying Dave's banned forever. I mean, maybe he, maybe he could be unbanned at some point in the future.
You remember the guy who wanted to kill himself like 4 or 5 months ago, and he actually went and got help?
That's right.
That's what Free Talk Live is about. It's not this negative stuff. It is a helpful thing. And, I've been listening to you guys for a number of years, and I know there's like probably thousands of other people that, can relate to what I'm saying. And for every person that likes me, there's probably 10 people that hate me. That's life.
That's just how, it totally is life. Now, I know you were calling about another topic. Our friend Mark Emery. Do you want to comment on that?
Dude, I got to know him from your show because Jody's a friend of your show. And, she came on like right when Mark first got incarcerated. And Mark was lonely. He was like hurting. Like he didn't, and Jody was missing her husband. He is a friend of your show. And like, I've become a pen pal, and like he's written me about like 7 awesome letters. I haven't heard back from him. Yeah, he's a good guy. He is a hero. He's an activist for cannabis.
For people that don't know, Mark Emery is known popularly as the Prince of Pot. He was put into federal prison here in the United States for selling seeds in Canada. He was living in Vancouver. He was one of the main operators behind, not High Times, but the competitor Cannabis Culture magazine. Yeah. And they were doing amazing work there in Canada, and he was like one of the most wanted people from the DEA here in the United States, and they actually got Canada to extradite him to the United States, where he faced a show trial, a sham kangaroo court, and they put him in a prison cell. in high, maximum security prison for a little while. I think they finally moved him to medium security.
He's done 5 years, and he was your friend. Like you were on his.
I always
list.
feel like I'm not doing enough for Mark Emery.
Call Jody, please get her on your show.
Well, we're definitely going to have. Certainly, I plan on having Mark on again here because he is supposed to get out this summer, which is very exciting. And Howard, thanks for your call tonight. I appreciate the kind words. We'll continue tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime at freetalklive.com and Daryl's website, fpp.cc.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a SelectQuote agent with a true story of how SelectQuote goes to bat for you buying term life insurance. A while back, a man called me who had prostate cancer. He asked if I could beat a very high quote another life insurance agent had given him. I said, let me see. Well, I took his pertinent information, then shopped the highly rated, price-competitive companies we represent, and found one who pre-approved him for a premium way below what he had been quoted. When it comes to term life insurance, no other company touches SelectQuote's experience and expertise in finding the right policy at the right price for almost anyone. How about you?
For your free quote, call 1-800-945-1041. That's 1-800-945-1041. 1-800-945-1041. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges start a conversation with your neighbor or your doctor or your family or your school. Now there's teachers and lawyers and business executives, and they all wear shiny badges and they all reject the state. Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges show the world that you reject coercion and aggression and oppression by the state. ShinyBadges.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
The Corey Moore Show is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your source for Liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Friday, March 14th, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,376. Silver opened at $21.50, and Bitcoin is trading at $630.